and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Just a catching strays over here.
You're in for a hell of a show.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Welcome back to day 3 of the Milwaukee, Wisconsin 2024 Republican National Convention. You may have noticed in this opening shot that the fellas have become better looking and smarter over the last 24 hours because we have an addition of a centerpiece here. Megyn Kelly is with us.
It's a lovely intro, Holmes. Thank you.
I mean, unbelievable. This is so fun. I'm so glad that you're joining us. This is just an awesome time.
I honestly, for me, it's a dream come true because I never get to see you guys in person.
I know.
Right? And sometimes I worry, are they real? Do they actually exist? Now I see, look how handsome everybody is, all dressed up for Sunday best.
Oh, you need to stop that right now. We're going to get heads way too big with that kind of thing.
I think they're all taken, ladies, but I'm looking for you.
I love it. I love it. Are you having a good time? You got your fam? You're doing
it's so fun. So fun coming to this. I think we'd be having a different experience at the Democratic convention. But just based on my past experiences. But here, all I can think of is the Ann Coulter line. I saw her at maybe it was the 2012 one maybe. And I'm like, hey, Ann, how you doing? And she with this big smile, and Ann is like, she does smile. She's funny, but she's cynical. And she goes, I'm doing great. I'm in a sea of Republicans.
No, I mean, but the energy is pretty good. I mean, we've been to a lot of these things over the years, and you get kind of a mixed bag. It kind of depends on where you are as a party, whether you're optimistic about the election, whether you're not. This one, there's no mixed bag. I mean, the delegates, the people who are attending this convention, seems like almost you get to a point where even the cynical media reporters are like, God, you guys look like you're having a good time here.
Yes, I know. They're kind of like, your team is so cool. Maybe I'll join it. Oh, wait, what am I saying? I'm part of the media. It's not accepted.
That's not how I get a paycheck.
No. I love the ones like the delegates from Texas, all decked out in the spangles and the stars and stripes and the hats and the boots. That's just, it's inspirational. And for once, I was just talking to somebody and they were saying, the Republicans getting overconfident. And I said, look, yes, they need to be careful, right? This thing could definitely go the other way. But they are allowed to have their moment.
Yep. Yeah.
Because I've been covering politics and, at a place like Fox, a lot of Republican politics for 20 years. And I don't remember a time when the Republicans felt really joyful and had a news cycle that wasn't all about how terrible they are.
Right?
It's the first time in recent memory was they had a spate of good news, not obviously the assassination attempt, but somehow that turned into something really inspirational.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
And, Biden's meltdown, something they've been saying they knew would happen and that happened in front of everybody's eyes. It was like, we've been telling you. And the lawfare getting thrown out in the worst case against Trump, the Florida case, on Monday, it's just and J.D. Vance, I think people are excited by him, but it's just, they've got the wind at their back. And then you come here, and the weather's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Sun is shining, but it's not 90. It's 74. It just seems like everything is coming up roses right now, and so they ought to enjoy it while it's here.
Oh, very well said. Very well said. So thank you all for joining us once again. Day 3, day 1 and 2 bangers here on the Ruthless Variety program. We had a great. You got to like and subscribe though, right?
That is right. If you're tuned into the stream right now, hit like, and we will be reading your comments that you're leaving on stream while we're here.
As it turns out, that's sort of important because...
Well, that's exactly what we always say and what we coined here at the Ruthless Variety program.
Really
if you want to comment, you like and subscribe if you wish to opine.
What we've coined here at the program. Yeah. Thievery, we're not above it.
No, why not? Why should you?
We're not above
Keep it pithy.
Yeah.
Keep it pithy.
Name and town.
Exactly. Exactly right. All right.
Ailes used to say, the man wants to sell doormats.
Well, we'll try to give you the very best that we can, recap a little bit about last night, and talk about the night to come, and obviously the next 2 nights. Some incredibly important stuff happening here, but also just a ton of stuff going on the Democrat side. Nothing good. We talked about this. We were on with you earlier on your show, Megyn. And it turns out Biden had a Zoom call. Now, it happened an hour before an attempted assassination of President Trump, and so it got no pub. You couldn't print it. Nobody talked about it. Mm-hmm. So it's now just coming out that all of these things happened. But evidently, in an attempt to try to assuage the fears of House Democrats, Joe Biden got on a Zoom call. And it didn't go great.
Not great.
No, this is not how you guys would have advised him to handle this.
No.
No, he played, of course, to type. He was the angry, daffy, defensive, attack a Bronze Star winner self.
Yeah.
Right? It was very weird. And of course, once again, brought up his own son to compare this Bronze Star winner, member of Congress, to Beau Biden. Why again? What didn't flow. And they were saying his non-angry moments were actually worse than the debate. So it's like, well, what is... Go on.
Like,
right?
I should
what,
pause on that for a second.
what does that look like?
Their words, it was worse than the debate. Imagine what that sounded like.
But you can see it, right? Have you been watching his little PR
Attempts.
rehab over the past?
With Lester Holt and all that.
But even outside of that, like he did the interview with BET, and then he did another interview with a guy. I didn't know this journalist, but they were on stage in a theater. The rambling, the non sequiturs. He keeps getting out of balance with the hey. Anyway,
Yeah.
he totally forgets his train of thought. He says things that aren't true. He
I
quickly
put
changes
together
U.S.
NATO.
policy like that.
He's like, I put together NATO,
Right.
and I was
Right.
there at the Treaty of Versailles. Like, he's just making things up.
The most effective world leader ever. Ask anyone. By the way, Duncan, I am the most effective news anchor ever. Ask anybody.
But you have to ask yourself, why is he doing it? And the reason he's doing it is because there is a fist fight internally among Democrats about knocking him off of the ballot. They want to steal the nomination from this man. And what we've said before on the Ruthless Variety program, the second greatest mystery of this entire cycle is who will be their candidate.
Well, what the hell's the first greatest mystery?
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked, because there is a brand new book out called The Mysterious Case of Rudolph Diesel.
It's a wonderful book.
And it is a wonderful book written by Doug Brand. And I don't know if you've read it.
Brunch, sir.
I don't know if you've read it, but it's on my bedside. And I read it in installments, basically, every little bit every week.
Nice.
Very
Listen to
nice.
what you're doing here. I didn't even know that was not planned.
I have read it, and its author is right here somewhere. He's in the crowd
He's around
watching the
here.
Ruthless program right now. And it was a huge bestseller and actually may become a movie now.
Wow.
Kidding? I can't
Yep.
wait to watch it. But I recommend you read the book, because this is going to be a case where the book is much, much better than the movie.
Very true.
I mean, the Brunt Kelly family, you guys, everything you touch turns to gold.
I'm so proud of Doug on this book because it took him forever, and he really poured his heart and soul into it. He did all of his own research, unlike some other people who just have, I'm just saying, like there was a scandal. You may or may not have heard about how Anderson Cooper completely copied this other person's book.
No kidding.
On his big book about, like, I don't know, robber barons. Doug Brunt did all of his own research, and he was just telling a story recently about how he doesn't really use the laptop for his research. He just he reads, and then he puts these big piles together, and then he does all these Post-its. And so it looks almost like a beautiful mind,
Yeah.
or, Homeland, whatever.
Or a serial
like that.
killer,
Yeah.
What do they do?
And he was saying, God forbid somebody go into the den with a news blower. Like, I mean, a leaf blower. All my news would be everywhere. Anyway,
That's so good.
great book.
I love it. All right, so back to Biden for a second. He's clearly clinging to life here, and we talked about this on the Ruthless Variety program. We brought it up on your show today. That we broke a little news because we've been happening around here.
Yeah, some big news.
We've been talking to a lot of people, and it turns out it's like the worst kept secret in American politics right now that Chuck Schumer went to Joe Biden to ask him to step away, and he just politely declined, and so they had no further comment. And of course, the press was like, "Oh, you're denying it?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, no story." So they didn't report anything. We learned of this. We've confirmed it over last couple of days. We went with this yesterday. It seems to have unleashed a little bit of a cavalcade of news. Now we learn that Hakeem Jeffries has spoken with Chuck Schumer. He's the leader of the House Democrats. And he and Schumer are working in concert to try to push back the delegate count at the DNC. They want to give themselves a little bit more time to get what they want done, which is to try to get Joe Biden out of the race. Amazing, right?
What would be the reason to push back the virtual
No
delegate
reason.
count on August 7th if you were sticking with Biden? That
It wouldn't be.
there'd be no reason to do that. Get her done. Move on. Put an end to the speculation. He's our guy. Riding with Biden. Right? That's as they told us last week. I'm not surprised because Look, the day after Biden's debate, and I've never seen anything like that in my life. Never anything like that. I mean, I have to say, I felt for Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. It's like, they had to have been sitting there like, holy effing. Like, like,
imagine what that war room's like.
They were probably like, I don't even really want to be involved in this.
They're like, send out the tweet. You're like, no, I can't.
Oh, so after that debate, though, the next day I had on Steve Bannon, of all people. It was this crazy great interview. And it was right before he went to jail. And he said, this guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to dirty tactics and how to fight, too. And he was like, there is zero chance that these Democrats will sit by and watch themselves lose the House and the Senate and the White House. They are going to turf this guy just as soon as they possibly can. I agreed with him. And over the past few weeks, we've had, like, it's waxed and waned. Like the Biden team is winning now. They're quieting down. And it seems that all along they were fighting behind the scenes. They got a little quiet after the terrible Trump event on Saturday to try to look a little bit more unified. But they were still having Chuck Schumer go meet with Joe Biden, having Joe Biden yell at Democrats to get on board, whether they want to or not. And I do think Bannon was right. They're not just going to sit idly by and let Trump enact the Trump agenda in the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to everything they can do. And, the thing is like, a lot of us here have worked in sort of the bowels of politics for a long time, longer than I care to admit. And when you see these sort of things start to unfold, when the mainstream media is in a different place than an administration in a congressional Democratic caucus, you know something's up.
Yes.
Right? You know something's up. Because that just doesn't happen. I mean, you get the front page of the New York Times and the Washington Post. That's whatever the Democrats are talking about every day. Like it's like a court reporter, right? And when that goes askew, something's up. So we got onto this pretty early and we were starting to talk about it. And then we watched the George Clooney op-ed, which I think, maybe Smug, maybe Ashbrook.
Maybe Smug.
What have you guys...
The idea that George Clooney was sitting over a laptop double-checking the word count for the New York Times that they would accept is preposterous. This was written by some Obama person. It was written by some Clinton person.
Agree.
George Clooney is a talented guy, but he makes a mean tequila. But he's not writing political op-eds.
No, it's ridiculous. I heard some people be like, oh, I hate him even more now because he's gorgeous and he's rich and he can write. Like,
Yeah.
Oh
okay.
my God.
There's zero chance George Clooney wrote that piece.
I'm not even sure he read it.
But the fact that he signed his name to it is what mattered.
It's what matters. And it shows that there is a part of the Democratic Party that is working very, very hard here.
Yeah.
What it also underscored to us is there was no plan B. They didn't have anything. We speculated for the last year, and on your show and on our show, we've speculated about what is their actual plan, because we all know this man is infirm. Unlike everybody else, apparently, on the Democratic side, we were fairly well aware of the condition.
Yes, and not afraid to talk about it.
Not afraid to talk about it. But they just somehow thought, all right, we'll elevate Trump, we'll convict him in a court of law, and then we'll market the conviction. We'll never have to talk about Joe Biden at all in this election. We'll get through with all of that. And there was no plan B.
They created the Frankenstein, and now the Frankenstein won't do as he's being told. And they, when the best line I've heard in a month, are frustrated by their impotent rage. Not
That's
that
it.
you're impotent rageful. That was your term. That was your term. I love that.
It really encapsulates they are prisoners of their own making, because for so long the media has gone along with anything Democrats wanted, right? And Hollywood's been in lockstep with them. And when this fracture appears, and they think they can have the tail wag the dog, where the journalists start going after the Biden administration, being like, oh, we didn't know, you lied to us. They thought them being angry, George Clooney and Hollywood thinking if we're angry, we can make it happen, and it's all for nothing. At the end of the day, Dr. Jill Biden wants to stay around, and it doesn't matter who says her husband isn't ready for it. She's going to drag him across the finish line. I'm just worried when we broke that news about Schumer going and asking him to step down, that it's pushed a bit more momentum on it.
Don't even say it.
I know you didn't want to push
Yeah.
it.
Don't even say it.
Keep fighting, Joe. You can do it. Hang in there.
But let me ask you guys, are you guys worried about anyone in particular? I mean, I know Michelle Obama, she's not going to do it. I don't think she's going to. But of the real possibilities, is there anybody who you worry about?
No, I think they're locked in. I mean, I don't know, fellas. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, to me, like, it's funny because a lot of the folks who are involved in politics have been mentioning names like Gretchen Whitmer and Shapiro,
fantasy.
the governor of Pennsylvania. The public doesn't know these people.
No idea.
They're known within their own states, but the vast majority, because it's across America when you're voting for president, and they have no idea who these
how much
individuals
money you would
are.
have to spend in just pure name ID for somebody who's not been on the national scene?
Right.
Like, they don't have that.
And also, this election is just different because Donald Trump's already had the job, right? If this was like an open race, Megyn, yeah, there's some people in the Democratic Party who I think maybe could get there. But we have 4 years of Donald Trump's economy and everything accomplished in the White House, in contrast to what we have with Joe Biden now. It's no longer theoretical. It's not 2020 Joe Biden sitting in the basement. So I think with that record of success, like, I feel like Trump could beat anybody right now.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I hope no Democrats are watching this because I am most worried about Joe Biden. I am terrified of the possibility that he stays on the ticket.
But can I tell you,
Because
I
that
actually am
team-
worried about that.
Yeah,
Not in terms of the election. But I really firmly believe he should not be president right now. I do
yeah.
think he should be 25th Amendmented.
Yeah.
As somebody who's got 3 young kids, including 2 boys, although women can be drafted now too. It's so ridiculous. I don't want that man in control of our troops. He needs to go. And so the responsible thing for our country, which we all love, is for him to get out of this race.
Yeah.
I realize that you're thinking the long game. Keep him in and Trump will beat him. What if he did win?
Oh, it'd be
Oh, it'd
horrible.
be terrible.
I mean, that's just too scary. I realize probably Kamala would take over. Also not
Terrible.
good. But I'd rather have that on the ballot that people can choose. So I just think he should step down. He does need to go. I don't know about any of these other, but I agree with you on the name recognition. Good luck. And the other thing is, Trump right now has got superhero status at the moment.
Right.
Totally.
How is some no-name going to take on the guy who just looked death in the eyes and then got back out to the golf course the next day with a fist pump with the bloody face? That's very hard to run against.
And Ashbrook's made the point, and he made it on your show today, but like, if you're somebody with serious presidential timber, as they say, would you want that job? Would you really want that job? Or
Right
you want?
now?
Yeah. Would you want it? Or would you want to be able to run in 2028?
And a clean slate.
Clean slate.
Yeah. Rather than picking up the pieces of this mess.
Right.
Did you see I think it was a Politico or Axios article about how all these governors that Biden went to appease, I got it, I'm still with it.
Yeah.
Very few said anything negative afterward because they're, of course, thinking about,
Oh, yeah, they're like,
you go, Joe.
looking in the mirror and adjusted the tie, and there's a fella that could do the job.
Do it. They're thinking Trump's term limited,
It's like
right?
he's a billionaire and they're all in the will, and they're like, can't say anything wrong. I got money coming my way.
Shame if they unplugged that situation.
So what do you guys think? I'm sorry, it's your show. You're allowed to ask the questions, but I'd love to know what you guys think about J.D. Vance because there's such a divide. Like there's such harsh reaction to him by some Republicans, and this whole divide. Like Rupert Murdoch was calling up until the last minute to try to get Doug Burgum chosen, and then Tucker Carlson, according to the New York Times, swooped in and said, absolutely not. You've got to stick with J.D. Vance. Like they could assassinate you. They could do anything to you if you choose somebody that the establishment really wants. It's been a very interesting couple of weeks, but in the end, Trump went with the Don Jr., Vivek, Tucker recommendation, the America First guy.
I think he was always most comfortable with JD. And look, he clearly respects everybody that he winnowed down that list to. And frankly, we were good with all of them.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, if you listen to Joe Biden's campaign, they say they cannot win. They cannot get to 270 without Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. They just say that. They flat out said that it's all 3 states is all they're focused on. Can you think of someone who is better equipped to talk to middle America in a population that gets you to a majority position in those 3 states than J.D. Vance? I mean, he literally wrote the Bible on Appalachia.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, this is somebody who is that.
Right.
Like
No.
he embodies that.
No, I think JD was the perfect choice, and I mean, I'm very biased on
Here we
this.
go. Talking Ohio
Yeah,
again.
this is what you've done to us, Megyn. You've introduced an Ohio opportunity.
Sorry.
But he's from a place called Middletown.
Yeah.
And Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan are all made up of small to mid-sized towns, just like Middletown, Ohio. And we have never had at the top of our ticket, second on our ticket, somebody who comes from the background that JD comes from. And it is so important that the executive branch of this American government has that perspective in charge.
Well, and selfishly, as a millennial, I love that.
You
Finally
the
it's
younger
our
blood.
time. We're passing the
What
torch.
happened to Gen X? Why did they get ruled out?
Latchkey kids, we're just throwing to the side like
We
they
got
always
like
did.
the boomers and the millennials. It's like we got completely overlooked.
It was the
Boomers ran
ultimate boomer
everything.
move. They were like, we're not even going to give you guys anything. It's going to the next one over.
Gen X is like, F you, leave me alone.
Right, we're fine.
We were raised by Bill Cosby.
We would have no country if it weren't for us. Exactly true.
The thing is, it was almost like an embarrassment of riches to choose from. The Republicans have a terrific lineup, a talented lineup, and the more, the public got to know, like Doug Burgum, incredibly talented person.
Yeah, totally.
Humble person, highly accomplished person, ready for the job. But the fact that we have so many to choose from, there was no bad option.
But also,
and
doesn't that highlight the fact, and we did a lot of work during the primary interviewing all of these people, highlight the fact we had a primary.
Yep,
And what it
100%.
ultimately did at the end is elevate a whole bunch of incredible talent the American people had no idea existed. Did anybody know that Doug Burgum was governor of North Dakota? I mean, we knew because we're in the business.
I think we selected Trump's cabinet.
I mean,
Yeah.
that
And
might
we did a
be-
good job of it, too.
Yeah, I think we nailed it.
I think we nailed it. And I think more importantly, I think the American people are like, wow, these are really smart, incredibly effective people in their own little areas. Like, we want Trump because we want the fight. But, like, these are people who should be involved with all of that stuff. Democrats didn't have that.
No.
And that's part of the problem.
What was their showcase? It's also been so apparent to me because I was there in 2008 when, McCain Palin, and she was so excited. Everybody loved Palin. It was
Yeah.
and then she, of course, imploded, but she was very electric at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, the Republicans have so much excitement. Then we went to Invesco Field out in Denver,
Aye.
and it was the Greek columns.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they are effed.
Yeah.
I mean, they're effed.
We all felt it.
Yeah.
We didn't want to say it, but we all felt
Right?
it.
And but everybody celebrated Barack Obama's rags to riches story. Like he pulled his way up and wound up at Harvard Law School and now U.S. Senator and possibly president. Yay! Same thing, Bill Clinton, a little town called Hope.
Little town Coho.
He made it on his own, and they're like, oh, and then Trump comes along, and they're like, silver spoon in his mouth. He doesn't understand anything about the working class. And then you get J.D. Vance instead of Burgum, instead of Youngkin. And they're like, you got Elizabeth Warren out there right now, like, what does he know about working class people?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren,
Okay.
get out of here.
Harvard professor, 0.0001%
And, like,
Native American.
Read his book. He literally had Pepsi in his bottles as a little baby.
Yeah.
He didn't know what pajamas were. Everybody always slept in jeans where he grew up. They suffered from a condition called Mountain Dew mouth.
Yes.
Because that's all the parents give these kids in these very poor neighborhoods.
Yeah.
On and on. You got to read the book.
It's terrific.
It's just spend 2 minutes getting to know this guy, and then give him like one day of celebrating the personal story, just because we're Americans, and then you can bash the hell out of him on his policies the next day. He didn't get it.
So I mean, that's the summary. I mean, that's the point we were making. Is like exactly what you said. If that's the battleground, who else am I going to pick other than that?
Yeah.
I mean, he is that.
Yes. Oh man,
know?
it's authentic.
It's authentic.
You read that book, it's like, it's sad. I've said for years now, it's not just because he just got nominated, that my interview with J.D. Vance when I was at NBC, I think is one of the best pieces I've ever done.
Oh, really?
And it remains one of my very favorite interviews. Like if you're going to ask me what my favorites were out of all
Really?
of them, that would definitely be in the top 3.
This was on the book before the Senate.
Yes, it was 2017. He had just left Peter Thiel out in San Francisco and told me he liked working for Peter, but he didn't like seeing people crap in the streets as he was walking to work, like on the street.
Yeah.
And he had just moved back to Ohio. He was married to Usha. They were expecting their first baby, and she was about to go clerk for Chief Justice John Roberts. So it's clear she was, very smart and power player. They met at Yale.
Brilliant.
And there's something about JD when you spent time with him, at least back then, where he was, I don't know, maybe a little forlorn. His lifetime trauma was still on him, but he was optimistic about our country. He recognized that this kid from the Pepsi bottle, as an infant, wound up at Yale Law School and venture capitalist, and now is back home with possibilities in front of him. And now I see him, right? This is just 7 years later. And he's slimmed down even more.
Yeah.
He's got the good facial hair.
Just like that
JD.
guy. Yeah.
And he's got the good suits, and Usha's beautiful, and he's really living the American dream. And I just think, while I'm sure there's still some internal damage there, isn't there for everyone?
Yeah.
That actually going to work to our advantage because he's an empathetic, beautiful person.
That's
Completely.
a really good way to put it.
I was thinking about that right after he was announced, I said, this is such a powerful decision because one of the defining differences between Republicans and Democrats at this point is, yes, they previously had, Bill Clinton say I'm from a town called Hope, and then, President Barack Obama, look, he came from nothing. But now the message you get from the left is, well, no, we need DEI because for some people, you absolutely cannot make anything of yourself. America's a racist country. And for some people, you're privileged. Even if you were born in the Ozarks with a bottle full of Pepsi, you are privileged and you should apologize and you're a racist. So they've spent their time since President Obama dividing the country, trying to divide and conquer.
Yeah.
And so when you get J.D. Vance on that stage tonight telling his story, and I was thinking the same thing when Vivek had that just electric speech last night, just speaking to what makes America so great is the possibility of what an individual can accomplish, and it can only be done in this country. And that was such a hopeful message.
Yeah.
Such a hopeful message.
Listen to Smug being hopeful and optimistic.
It's
This is
incredible.
unbelievable. It's an out-of-body experience.
Well, you know what? It's what Smug is saying is what every Republican here is feeling. There were a lot of contestants for this VP role, and they were fighting behind the scenes, and everybody wanted it. But as soon as President Trump named J.D. Vance, everybody was like, yes, this is the guy. We're on board for this ticket, and we want to win. Think about, also all of the infighting that's happening just to get a shot at speaking on this stage.
Yeah, right.
Democrats have the opposite of that. None of them
Can I hear
want to
more
speak
about that?
on this.
I don't know about that. So they're fighting to get on the stage. Is it like a beauty contest?
Everybody wants a chance to speak. And, am I speaking 2 minutes? I really want to speak for 3 minutes. How about 4 minutes?
Who
How
do they
about 8
speak
minutes?
to? Who are
They're fighting over 30 seconds
Who
at
are
a
they
time.
trying to convince?
They're
Trump? No, he's not getting involved
They're
at that
they're
level.
trying to convince Trump's people at the RNC that they should be in prime time because they want to be seen as a part of Trump's movement. Every Republican wants to be a part of it, and what I'm saying is that Democrats have the exact opposite
I'm busy.
phenomenon going on.
I'm busy.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. You know what? I'll do 30 seconds in the morning on Monday. How's that
Wait,
sound?
didn't Biden go to Michigan and Gretchen Whitmer was
yeah.
suddenly unavailable?
Right.
Like
Tammy
all the
Baldwin
top
here in
Dems.
Wisconsin, she was
Exactly right.
scheduling.
Sorry,
Right.
would love to be there.
Right.
The president's coming. Would
Right.
like to see me. I'm sorry. I'm talking to some community activists
Gallbladder.
today.
Right.
Gallbladder.
And then it's the exact opposite problem where we had, last night, just a tremendous lineup.
Yeah.
Speaker after speaker. You have Vivek, knocks it out of the park. Ron DeSantis knocks it out of the park. Sarah Huckabee Sanders knocks it out of the park. And, it was impossible to choose. I don't know, who was your favorite, for the folks here who was watching, who was your favorite
Megyn, who-
person
who-
speaking?
Oh, I like the mom of the.
Oh my gosh,
of
yes.
the young man he served
From New York.
overseas from New York. Forgive me for not remembering her name.
Yeah.
And then he got killed in Harlem.
Yeah.
And his 4 perpetrators were arrested, were found, and then Alvin Bragg gave 2 of them sweetheart deals, a slap on the wrist. One basically got off with nothing. One got a 7-year deal, which should have been put in jail for the rest of his life. And she got up there, a woman of color. Her son obviously was a black man, and had some very hard truths for the soft on
Yes.
crime approach.
Yep.
And MSNBC went to commercial.
Oh, are you
No,
kidding me?
I
I did not know that.
I do
Went
not.
to commercial
Yeah,
and
wow.
did not even come back and talk about her. What I
That's
thought
just
we were supposed to
disgusting.
listen to the black woman, and she's a veteran's, mother. What? No, they weren't interested because they too, of course, are soft on crime and believed in everything that Alvin Bragg does.
And specifically on that subject, when you have the coastal glitterati of the Democratic Party decide that defund the police seems like a good example, but you actually speak to people and communities and they say we want more police here, and you hear that directly from an individual who's been affected by that, and they cut to commercial.
Yeah, of course.
It's just unbelievable.
Real quick, who's your
Can I
favorite?
say one
Flash?
other thing? The mom who was crying over her son who she lost to fentanyl to.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, and,
That
and,
was
the,
a
and the
rough
crowd,
one.
pan to the
People
crowd
openly
is
crying.
nothing but waterworks.
Those are
So-
smart
so
guests.
powerful.
Yeah. Real quick.
I'd say Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Very good job.
I expected Vivek to be great. I thought DeSantis was going to be great. She really rose to the occasion, and I just loved her speech, and I feel like it really connected with people, and I hadn't really seen that before.
And how
that's
when
like-
she was attacked, he had spoken that I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you and you're so strong.
No, and that's
Terrific.
and that is great. And those vignettes, I think, are powerful stories. This whole week is the people who've worked with Trump and know him personally can tell those stories, and it softens the guy
Yeah.
in a way that I think is important.
Smash. quick.
Without a doubt, Ramaswamy. And I'm not just saying that.
It's
'cause he's
another
from
Ohio.
Ohio.
Here we go. Here we go.
Cincinnati is ascendant this year.
And we should ask the audience, McDaniel, if you can keep an eye on the comments, who they think was the best speaker. I mean,
Great point.
that could have been terrific. That moment where the mother was speaking, it was just unbelievable. So many to choose from.
It was absolutely incredible. I agree, but I think they all played in a very important role because when a functional convention happens, you have speakers that speak to different constituencies, some of which are not all on board yet, right? Like Nikki Haley's speech may not have been the favorite of the faithful, but there was an important constituency there that needed to listen to that he needs to get to 270, and she hammered that. DeSantis, same thing. You have those reluctant, like very conservative folks who don't believe that like they're on board for the conservative agenda. He spoke to that.
He came out on fire.
Fire.
He was locked in.
It was
from
great.
The start.
He did not half-ass it. Well, can I just make one other point? I know we got to go, but
No.
there was a behind-the-scenes video that hit on X that I thought, like, for me, it was the takeaway of the night. I didn't play it on my show, but I should have. And it was Trump backstage with Trump Jr. and Eric, and Don Jr. was videotaping, his dad.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we got to, it's history. We've got to videotape everything. And there's just this moment where a senior looks at Junior and he goes, "Okay, sweetheart."
Yeah, it's
and he meant it.
It's a family thing.
But it was a lovely, like, father-son moment that where you're like,
It's a real guy.
loves his kid. He's calling his grown adult man son sweetheart.
Yeah.
It just kind of got me back to he's changed since the shooting. We'll see. But I have to say it was softer than I would have expected even Trump to be.
I'm glad you brought
private.
that up. I think that is really, really well said. Listen, we're beyond thrilled that you're here with us.
Aw.
We absolutely love this. And our audience knows how much we love going on your show and you coming on ours.
Likewise.
This relationship, but we're going to do it again tomorrow. You're going to be here. This show starts at 11 this
11
time.
Milwaukee time, right?
And
Noon East.
12 at noon East. So everybody tune into that. She's going to be live. I guarantee that's going to be a banger.
Oh, yeah. We're already. The content's coming in right now.
Yeah. And we'll just continue to, we're all in the same spot here.
I know, guys. Thanks for having me. It's wonderful to see you in person and keep up the great work. I love the Ruthless Variety Program.
Thank you so much.
You are the absolute best. Megyn Kelly, everybody. Really appreciate her being here. We're going to go to a clip, just a highlight. We just talked about it a little bit of Ramaswamy's speech last night because I think for our takeaway in terms of what's a breakout star and somebody who's, gets into a different audience, this is a perfect example of that. If we can play clip 1, please.
Because you know what? Fear has been infectious in this country, but courage can be contagious too. That too is what it means to be an American. And you know what? If you're at home and you disagree with everything I just said, our message to you is this. We will still defend to the death your right to say it, because that is who we are as Americans. We are the country where we can disagree like hell and still get together at the dinner table at the end of it. That is the America I know. That is the America we miss. We do not have to be ancient Rome. We don't have to be this nation in decline. We can still be a nation in our ascent. A nation whose best days, not in some fake politician way, but in a true way, a nation whose best days are actually still ahead of us. Still on our way to that shining city on a hill, that country where no matter who you are, or where your parents came from, or what your skin color is, or how long your last name is, that you will still get ahead in this country with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication, and that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what reunited us after the Civil War.
That is just grand slam right in the bat. That's the entire message right there.
And the thing is like, look, we try to provide as objective analysis as we can on all of this stuff, from our perspective. And we had a lot of critical things to say about the campaign that Ramaswamy ran, but whether or not he believed in a lot of the things that he said. That right there is what it looks like to have a breakout moment.
Came direct from the heart.
That is as impressive a performance as you're going to see. We talked about this yesterday. Who are the people who speak that ultimately catapult not only themselves, but perhaps a movement behind them?
Yep.
That's what that looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, you think about Obama's moment.
That's what I
in
was thinking
04.
of.
And I mean, every mark he hit perfectly. Everything was crisp. And I mean, I was so pumped to listen to that speech. And you know, this guy has a tremendous future.
It really does.
Absolutely.
It really does. So, listen, first of all, thanks, Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Always a blast.
And it's a blast. We have such a good time with her. She's just so fantastic. Coming up on Ruthless Live, Biden's long slide continues as he insults a veteran. We talked about it a little bit with Megyn Kelly, but we'll talk a little about that more. We've got a huge lineup. A huge lineup.
I mean, we have been, but it continues.
I mean, we just saw it a minute ago. Bernie Moreno walked by, said hello as we're on set. I mean, it's like we're filled. We're overflowing with terrific
Our
guests.
cup runneth over.
It runneth over. La Savita's going to be with us.
It's going to be good.
This man doesn't do interviews,
You know, he doesn't.
but he comes on the program. Comes on the program. That's why you listen. Like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe. Right? You got to do that. We got Guy Benson, who we just love and think is absolutely hilarious. We're going to play a game with him.
Yeah. And
It'll
I think
be
it's
fun.
be a game he's going to be particularly good at.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little concerned because you made me a competitor here. I think I'm going to get absolutely killed.
It's a tough assignment.
It's a tough assignment.
I
but
believe in you.
We're playing hard pivot with him, so
Yeah.
look forward to that. And then we got the chair of all of this today. We've got the RNC chair, Michael Watley.
From the great state of North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. I got to counter Ashbrook on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love the state-by-state battle that we've got going
Yeah,
on here.
it's good.
I wish Minnesota was more politically relevant because I'd like to chime in on it.
You got Jesse Ventura, right?
Oh, you son of a... It's unbelievable. Just a broadside attack. We're going to play 2 games today, though, fellas.
Yeah.
You know what we're going to do first? One of my absolute favorites. We call it Dem or Journo. Do we have the
go.
do we have the music for Dem or Journo? Yeah, we do.
Dem or journo, 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 dem or journo. Nobody knows.
No, nobody does know. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows why it's a stanza too long.
Yeah, so it is. The song is long. That's the fun.
Well, that is the fun.
Yeah.
And if we weren't making fun of each other, what would we be doing here?
Yeah. So for our new viewers and listeners who maybe aren't familiar with this game, I'm going to read 4 statements, 3 of which have been made by journalists, and 1 by a Democrat operative. My friends here have to decide who is the Democrat operative. It's arguably our most difficult game here on the Ruthless
It
Variety
is
program.
extremely difficult.
It is very hard to tell the difference. We have themed today's game on ancient history, which is last Thursday when Biden did his NATO presser.
Okay.
You know, I mean, obviously a lot's happened since then, but it was just incredible content, and it was perfect fodder for this game.
Because this was the rehab assignment.
Yeah.
The whole Biden.
The big boy
everybody,
speech.
Yeah, the big boy
the
speech.
big boy speech, and I think the media sort of got the message right. It's like this is the reset.
Right.
So everybody say positive things.
Yeah,
Let's
this
help
is
our
what
guy
we
out.
do. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so difficult.
It's really going to be tough.
This is going to be a tough one.
You're going to want all your friends to see this, so make sure you're liking the stream because if you like it, they see it too.
Your friends will love this game too.
They're
so
going to
share
love it. All right.
All right. So let's go to statement number 1 here. Okay, this is again about the NATO presser. He, being Biden, went into great detail on foreign policy, on the situation with Israel, Ukraine, his position on China. And what I thought was interesting is that he sort of wove throughout a subtle message about the benefits of being his age, 81 years old.
Did he really? I think it
He
was a
wove it
not
in.
subtle message the other way.
I mean,
Well, when you name your vice president as Trump,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like the 81 thing's
Not
like
subtle.
How long do you think it's been since Joe Biden has woven anything into his remarks?
There was no weaving.
It's not, it's not some sort of fucking linguistic Ferrari over here. He's like a backfiring Pinto.
A linguistic Ferrari.
Woven.
So good.
Oh,
That is
okay.
so good.
So that's statement number 1.
Oh my
Okay.
god,
Folks, we got 3 more of these. So.
Okay.
All right, statement number 2. Let's go to that. other than mixing up names kind of royally, Biden is doing pretty well. As a reminder to our audience, he called Zelensky Putin, President Putin, and he called Donald Trump his vice president.
Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Okay, so those are the first two. Let's go to that third statement, please. In 2024 terms, this was the good Joe Biden. Discussing the minutia of foreign policy at his Thursday night press conference, the president sounded confident and in command of the facts, delivering answers about U.S. policy towards Russia and China that his Republican rival would not be able to give even after a heroic dose of stimulants and gray market brain pills.
Oh, okay.
That is okay.
I have a very strong opinion about that one.
Yeah, I'll want to discuss that.
Yeah, I'm going to want to discuss that too. I'm going to put down discuss.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Statement number 4.
Okay.
The wisdom of doing this press conference at NATO is clear. Shaky on other stuff.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
The President of the United States is very comfortable on national security issues.
So this is my favorite. I'm just going to offer a comment on this.
Okay.
What I find so fascinating about all of this is because he didn't trip and split his pants in the middle of the press conference and like new terms like NATO and like recognized that there were countries and called them like close to the name of the country. Everybody's like, well, he's clearly a foreign policy expert.
Yeah.
Like, never mind the fact that his record is absolute horseshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I find it so fascinating where the whole commentary after the fact was he's most comfortable on foreign policy grounds. Most comfortable. There's never been a bigger disaster in foreign policy.
Wasn't it Obama's quote that he's always been on the wrong side of foreign policy?
every decision.
It was former Secretary Gates.
But the great ruse of that press conference, fellas, was the backdrop of a NATO press conference.
Yep.
The idea that Biden was just taking questions from foreign journalists who were asking about NATO as if the entire country is not on fire. Every single domestic issue is way, way down.
Also wild to have all of these foreign leaders have to chill in a room for an hour and a half as you're late to this press conference so you can shore up
And
your re-election.
It was a sleight of hand by his press team.
All these world leaders are there to hear this big boy speech at a NATO meeting, and he goes into, here's what's wrong with Donald Trump, and here's why Donald Trump is dangerous. It's like,
well, this is what
NATO.
So this is what Ashbrook is getting at. For those of us who've done this for a living, there's only a few times you can actually control what's coming at you. But if you put a president under the guise of a NATO conference, there's going to be some responsibility to ask about foreign affairs. More importantly, there's going to be press corps traveling with all the presidents that have come here from different countries, and clearly their focus is not domestic American politics, right? So, I mean, I think that's what you're driving at, is that they actually put that whole press conference together in the hopes that they could just sort of like not deal with all the shitty stuff he's doing.
Right.
And then take foreign questions about like, oh, well, what's happening in Ukraine?
Right, exactly. Their hope was if there are going to be 8 questions, at least 4 of them were from foreigners talking about some foreign policy thing, that there is no domestic controversy over what he was going to say.
So these are tough.
This is tough.
These are very.
This could be. I mean, this could be the most difficult one we've ever
Can we
had.
start with bringing 3 back up? I know it's a long one, but I want to take a look at this one more time because I feel like this could go a couple of different ways.
Okay. Yeah, in 2024 terms, this was the good Joe Biden discussing the minutia of foreign policy at his Thursday night press conference. The president sounded confident in command of the facts, delivering answers about U.S. policy towards Russia and China that his Republican rival would not be able to give in even after a heroic dose of stimulants and gray market brain pills.
I'm so because like 7/8 of it is just journo.
Right.
But like saying that Trump is the one that needs brain pills feels outside of the 40s to me. Like I just don't.
You would think so. Can we pop that up one more time? I just want to see the top of this statement one more time. Number 3. In 2024 terms, this was the good Joe Biden. I think this is a journo simply because they like to present things as if they are impartial.
That's clever.
It's also the inference that there is a bad Joe Biden, which as typically as a Democratic operative, they may not.
You don't want to.
concede that.
So
Okay.
I mean, this is honestly, this could be the most difficult one we've done. You guys want to just go all of our guesses 1 through 4?
Yeah. Do you want a secret ballot this thing?
No.
Yeah. Let's
You
go.
want
Let's
secret
just
ballot?
let's discuss them out loud.
All right. So I think one's a journo. No question. I'm not conflicted by that.
I agreed on that one. How about you, Ashbrook?
Can I see one, just one more time? Let's just pull it up one more time.
He went into great detail on foreign policy, on the situation in Israel, Ukraine, his position on China. And what I thought was interesting is that he sort of wove throughout a subtler message about the benefits of being his age, 81 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's
think
a
that's a
permission
journo.
structure
Yeah.
type argument that journos try to build for Democrats.
Old is good.
Old is
Wise.
Well, he's
Practiced hand.
What they're doing there is saying, thank you, White House press office, for giving us this ruse of a NATO press conference, and I'm going to play along.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what journos do.
So, all
I
right.
think that's a journo.
All right, so we're all in agreement on that. Number two, the other than that is let's just pop it up one more time so we can. Other than that, mixing up the names kind of royally, Biden is doing pretty well. Oh,
I think this is the Dem.
That was my thinking.
dude, I picked. This is the one that I wrote on my thing. I think it's the Dem because you have to acknowledge the obvious and remember the Biden. This is what tipped me on this. Remember, the Biden campaign actually sent out the full video of him introducing wrong names. Remember they did the full. So they've tried to own that in a little way.
They try to be like, oh, he just mixed up that name, Biden, Putin. It's kind of funny, but everything else is fine.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Zelensky is Putin, Putin is Zelensky, but they said he corrected it later on, so it's okay. And I feel like that's it.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my Dem.
Okay.
I think it's all of our Dem.
I think
It's all your Dem?
I had that, and for number three, I mean, clearly you guys had, all of us had journo, but the thing with number three and why I made number two the operative is because number three is the most insane, caustic take, right? And I was like, Duncan's never gonna make it that easy, so this has to be a journal. Like, this is just so it ends right off the cliff.
Yeah, stimulants and gray market
have
brain
hit the
pills.
gas. They're out there, way out of pocket. And I was like, he would not make it that obvious.
I think that's probably right. And
So you're all on two.
we're
all of us
we're
on
all
two.
on two. I can't wait to find out who these people are.
Okay, can we reveal number one, please?
Give me old journo. Nancy Cordes, CBS News. There it is. There's
Yeah.
the permission structure.
Yeah, wove throughout a subtler message.
Yes.
He's known for his subtlety, folks.
That linguistic
because-
Ferrari.
Because the linguistic Ferrari is what you look for in your broadcast news. The home of Walter Cronkite, now providing permission slips to an 81-year-old senile old man. Okay.
Can we do the reveal on number three, please? Charles Davis at Salon.
Oh, yep. Yep.
Insane
Pol-
take.
politics reporter.
That's
Ashbrook, Charles is your buddy, isn't he?
Is he one of your friends?
Oh, do you-
Journal
do you
Is he
know
buddies?
one of
this
your
guy?
Georgetown cocktail buddies?
it's a very salon-like take.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a little caustic.
Wordy.
Unbelievable.
Wordy and caustic. Unreadable.
Yeah, they pay there by the word.
I can't even imagine.
Again, I'm just going to thank myself for my service in going through the bowels of the internet to find Democrats still willing to be supportive of Joe Biden. That was actually the hardest part of putting this game together.
Must have been some tough
It was
research.
Tough. It was
Tough find.
Hey, I had to go to a salon.
All right, let's go to.
Okay, so it's down two or four.
4 or 2. What is it?
Let's go with the reveal on number 4, please. So my friends here were wrong.
It's David Axel.
2 is in fact a journo, and this journo has a place in the heart of Comfortably Smug. Let's do the reveal on number 2.
Oh, please.
No way.
Stephen Mazie.
Who is, I mean,
You used to dunk on his ass so much.
that's the thing. And I'm scared because, like, he has such bad takes, specifically, like, attacking the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And so I would dunk on him, and so then, like, for a while he wouldn't tweet as much. I was like, come on, Steve. It was fun punching you around. I think, he's back in the saddle, dropping bad takes. Good for you, Steve.
What a game.
Incredible pick.
What a game.
I mean, that's the thing is we're all professionals in this, and we can't tell a Democratic
It's
operative from a
impossible
journalist.
because there really is no difference.
All right, so thank you for all of that. We were all losers here on Demmer Journo. Is the toughest game in the business, and it is what it is. But we want to get to the YouTube comments.
Yeah, so these are some great ones. Thank you, McDaniel, for pulling these from the chat. We had asked the audience, and we continue to ask the audience, what was your favorite moment so far of last night at the convention? Crunk Juice says New York Mom and Vivek. Teresa Kaufman, Vivek, 2 fire flames. I mean, I think maybe it's even 3 fire flames is how good that was. Jeff Maziras, Ronnie D doesn't miss. Cox Odia saying Vivek. I mean, Vivek was just, I think it was clear to everyone, like you guys mentioned earlier, that this is like
it's a breakout.
This is a total breakout performance. He's not going anywhere.
He's one of the best communicators in Republican politics.
He really is.
He totally is.
And not in like a glib way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he can always use these touch points, historic or otherwise, to weave in. He is the linguistic Ferrari.
He is.
Joe Biden.
That's
is.
That's right.
Dude,
that is
what did
right.
you say? A backfiring Pinto?
Yeah.
I love that so much. All right. Remember, you got to like and subscribe. Add some comments on there. We'll read them here live on the show. We look at all of them after the show's over, so we get some insight into it. We're going to get to a whole bunch. We got some great guests, a bunch of different stuff coming up. We're going to get to it right after this.
The last few years have been really tough on my family. This never-ending cycle of inflation is taking more and more out of my paycheck. Hardworking families like mine are hurting. We need help and relief from rising costs. Why aren't we harnessing more of America's natural resources to help reduce inflation? We can't afford to wait any longer. We need more energy and more choices now. Learn more at lightsonenergy.com.
52 million Americans own crypto. These are entrepreneurs, innovators, and job creators who are deeply invested in building a strong America that dominates this emerging technology sector. This year, the official Republican Party platform even pledges support for American crypto owners. Stand with Crypto is mobilizing the crypto community to have an impact on issues and elections. With all the close races across the country, crypto voters could be the difference between winning and losing in November. Find out more and see where your candidates stand in your area at standwithcrypto.org.
Hey folks, my friends at Americans for Prosperity are again on the front lines fighting against the border crisis. It's clear the politicians aren't going to solve this on their own. It's going to take good old-fashioned grassroots activism, and that's what AFP specializes in. Americans for Prosperity Foundation has taken hundreds of concerned citizens to see the border for themselves, turning them into informed activists. And Americans for Prosperity knows just what we need: more border agents, more walls, and more technology. That's what makes Americans for Prosperity unique. They do the tough work of organizing and mobilizing everyday Americans to make a difference. In fact, they just announced a major campaign to hold Biden and his allies accountable for the crisis at the border. Learn more at securebordersecureamerica.com. That's securebordersecureamerica.com.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But DC politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program here on day 3 of the Republican National Convention. You know what occurred to me last night about midnight?
Okay.
We were still doing our thing, shall we say.
Bourbon epiphany. What came to you?
It was like 12:01. I'm like, this is halftime.
My God. When you
know
put
what
it that
I
way,
mean?
because, 2 more days ahead.
Yeah. But you know what? We're deep in the third quarter right now. And it's time to go out and win this game.
I think so.
So, gosh, we love everything about this. It's been so fun connecting with a bunch of people. I mean, the energy out here is absolutely incredible. You're going to see delegates piling in behind us here in the next hour or so as they go in for a big night 3 of VP, a VP speech. A lot of great stuff. And if it's anything like last night, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I really can't wait. But the other side of the coin here is worth discussing, as we've mentioned, which is the Dems in disarray, as they say. We have to play for you because we wouldn't be doing our job at the Ruthless Variety Program if we didn't give you a couple of Biden clips.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like it's kind of a brand thing.
It's about time.
It's about time. Like we've done this. We've done enough of the niceties. You got to hear from this man yourself.
Right, the clock is running on this guy. If we don't get the clips in now, we're never gonna.
You're never gonna have him.
Before the Dems were moving.
I love that they still can't get him out. I mean, it's just
Hang in there, Joe.
All right, so let's play clip 2 to begin with. This is an incredible deal that it's unbelievable. Okay, let's go to it.
The idea that corporate-owned housing is able to raise your rent $300-400 a month or something, under what I'm about to announce, they can't raise it more than $55.
What the fuck? I mean, dude, first of all, just look at him like he was clearly struggling to read what it was.
You can see the brain synapses misfiring.
And it's like he can't figure it quite out. Like the setting of this NAACP, everything that he's doing right now, whether it was a Supreme Court announcement, which is harebrained and unconstitutional, or whether it's this, he doesn't have the authority to do it, but he's trying his very best to try to get the progressive left back on board, who's just like left.
Just throw it all at the wall and see what sticks.
And so to me, what's really interesting is beyond what's said. The fact that he says, you know what policy I'm going to put into place? It's supposed to say, rent can't go up by 5%. But the fact that he says $55, he didn't come up with this.
He has no idea.
No. All the folks who are
clue.
saying that, like, clearly he's a puppet of the left-wingers who surround him, clearly he's a puppet. I mean, that's a pretty good argument if he doesn't know what this policy is and reads $55.
He's like Ron Burgundy at A Place for Mom.
Right? He's like, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to announce this new policy initiative. I'd like to find out what it is.
You know what? The big reveal.
I can't wait to see on this teleprompter what I've come up with.
$55.
He's like, I don't want to give up this job because every day's a surprise. I don't know what they'll get me to say today.
And it could be literally anything, because that's the most insane thing of all time. He read it.
If it's a teleprompter, he'll take a crack at it.
He's like, really? We can do that? $55? That's amazing. These apartments are like $5,000 in the place that I'm sitting. $55? I can do that as president? That's amazing. I mean, it was so wild, but also just like just stepping back, the fact that he's doing it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine for a second. This is how crazy these people are. Are they going to cap somehow, without legislation, without the sort of legislative process that we make laws in this country? He's going to cap rent at 5% increases. Meanwhile, his government has facilitated 10% inflation costs. Is there anybody with a calculator over there?
No, absolutely.
Like, I mean, literally, I just don't have any idea how you can come up with this stuff where you're like, well, 5%? 5% sound good? Well, $55. Let's just stick with that. It'd been hilarious if they would have defended that, by the way. Bracket man may have been like, fuck it, leave it.
55 sounds better.
Maybe people think it's real.
We have another one. You got to see this one. Clip number 3, if you wouldn't mind, Spaghetts. We'll cue that one up.
I know you're saying, Joe, you may not have a Congress. Well, guess what? You all told me I couldn't pass the Inflation Reduction Act. You all told me I couldn't face it. Anyway, we did it. We're going to bring rents down, as I said. We're going to build 2 million affordable homes and cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't gouge. Anyway, I don't want to get going. I'm going to get very upset. But there's gouging America. And by the way, not only saves lives, it will save taxpayers, just what I did on the first round on dealing with Medicare. It saves the taxpayer $160 billion because they don't have to pay these exorbitant prices to these anyway.
What?
Hey, guys. We have the old man here right now. This is the guy who sews every piece of merch the Ruthless Variety program puts together.
Exactly
I think
right.
we need a Ruthless shirt that just says Joe Biden anyway.
Anyways.
Anyways.
I love that.
I mean,
It's the tagline of his presidency.
That's just that. What point is it? Intervention.
Yeah.
There's got to be an intervention.
What more can be said?
What more can be said?
Yeah. The verbal crutch of anyway, as his brain misfires, is just like the saddest way.
It is.
It's
to go out.
fucking cruel.
It is.
Like I don't know how else to say it, and I hate to be like, it just is what it is.
No.
If you saw that with somebody that you love, you're like, dude, I know. Like she's lived with him for decades.
Right.
That like when you're explaining yourself and you can't, and you just say, anyways.
Right. She should be signing him up for visiting angels. She should give him a Jell-O, pat him on the back, and help him feel comfortable. He should not be the president of the United States.
Maybe a lazy boy, an extra cushion.
Yeah.
Something for the back.
And it's like he knows. It's a couple times he knows he's messed up because he'll do like a wince in any ways because he's like, oh, I messed that up, and he knows. I think he recognizes the fact that everyone around him is now always nervous. Because he keeps messing up because he's not capable of it. So he winces. He's like, oh, I messed that up. Anyways, I'm going to get mad about it.
Did you see the clip from this NATO thing that we just covered in Demo Journo where there was one camera that was trained exclusively on the staff?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see this?
Lizard Jake
Sullivan.
Just like.
So they've got his entire foreign policy apparatus sitting there.
Real brain trust.
When he announces that he has great faith and trust in his vice president, Donald Trump.
Oof. Jake Sullivan instantly is like,
and like you had some of them that just sort of blacked out. They were like,
yeah,
and then Jake Sullivan, like, calmly went for the forehead and just started rubbing his forehead. And it's like you're right to your point about the staff and how they're. I mean, everything is a disaster.
And I think you have a perfect read on that. It feels like Jake Sullivan was like disappointed. Every other staffer at this point is just like dissociating. Mm-hmm. They're just like, I'm not here. I'm sitting on a beach in my mind. I know this is horrible. I don't want to be here. And that's the thing is when they say on these reports that his inner circle is getting tighter and tighter and smaller, that's what you get. Look at that!
Oh, he just
what a
walks on
treat.
up.
Oh, you made it! He made it!
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris LaCivita, the man, the myth, the legend.
Incredible. Yeah, jeez. I mean, first of all, I have to compliment the colors that you're wearing here.
Looking
bro,
sharp.
huh?
Looking good.
Just a fashion.
You must be feeling good, too.
Fashion.
Yeah, I do.
Situation. Yeah, I do. I do. Not lacking confidence. Chris LaCivita, you've heard him here on at least 2 occasions. I think maybe more. It's probably more than the audience deserves.
Probably.
But we're going to put him through it again if you don't mind.
Perfectly fine.
Listen, this is the
I'm
gentleman.
glad you put me next to this guy.
I can't wait for this.
He needs no introduction, but he's co-running the campaign for Trump. He's now over at the RNC. You're coordinating all of these activities. Let me just say this, Chris. And I've known you for a long time, and I'm not one to blow sunshine up your ass, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Last night was a grand slam.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It was a grand slam. Yeah. And you got, what you hope for when you have a primary with any contestants, but contestants that have as much talent as the folks that we saw on stage last night, what you hope for is they come out and fill a role and talk to an audience that they helped cultivate.
Right.
And do that on behalf of the nominee and the future president of the United States. Absolute barrel of the bat. Mm-hmm. Incredible.
A couple things. One, great team, obviously. I mean, it's not something that, one person really can pull off on their own. We've got Justin Capielli, who's doing the convention stuff, and, Fabrizio and Susie Wiles, the speech writers. Yeah. I mean, every single speech had input and written essentially by us. Mm-hmm. And it's all to ensure that level of message discipline, right? Because each night's thematic is something different. But
and we talked about this when we were watching it. It felt like every speech last night had such a good, specific audience.
Yes.
And a very, a message well tailored to who was giving it. Mm. So it just connected.
It was authentic.
Very, very authentic. And I mean, I was very impressed with Vivek's speech.
Totally.
I expected that. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders, fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely killed
that
everybody.
testimony is just so powerful.
I know.
Well, but then the other thing is the different, and something that was different, and will continue to be, in tonight's program, and then of course even tomorrow night, is we have the majority of the speakers are not elected officials, right? They're not politicians.
Yeah.
They're
Great idea.
everyday people,
Yeah.
right, who have everyday problems. These are people who, they have a particular story that's, very personal to them that we saw develop last night. And, these are not professionally trained speakers. And some of the ones that we saw last night, they didn't leave you with a dry eye. Or they motivated the hell out of you.
Not even the network could cut away from that.
Oh, no.
I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
And tonight, we've got, we have several of the families who lost their son and or their daughter in Afghanistan in the pullout, and some video obviously that goes along with it. So, and it's powerful. And I know the families. I've spent a lot of time with them over the past 2 years, and it's a story that just never,
it's
never
so
leaves
important
you.
that it's told now, right after Joe Biden lied about those service members losing their lives.
Oh, well, yeah, at the debate.
When he says no one's died.
Don't you think it's sort of funny that Joe Biden, who his own people admit he's never made a correct decision in foreign policy in 40 years, is now trying to lean on that as his crutch to keep him in this race?
Well,
he's some sort of savant on foreign policy.
Should scare the hell out of everybody. But I mean, and meanwhile, he's marching us right into World War III. But one of the things I wanted to make sure I got across here is that for the longest time, the Biden campaign, their entire message has been this bogus, war on democracy.
Yeah.
And here, unfolding in front of the American people, is an attempted coup that is being pushed by leaders in the Democrat Party.
100%.
They're trying to depose the sitting president of the United States.
Not only that, somebody who's already received the delegates. They received the votes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that doesn't matter. Remember, those guys did it in 2014 in Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
When there was a Democrat nominee for the United States Senate, and that the Democrat leadership didn't particularly like him. So because they had a guy that they liked that was an independent named Greg Orman.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They went to court to dump their own guy who received like 80,000 votes. Literally, it's about all the Democrats that are in Kansas. And to dump him off the ballot.
Yeah.
And so that they could just have an independent running against.
Well,
of course, we tagged the independent with, Harry Reid. But
remember Torch in 2002?
Oh, yeah.
Like in New Jersey, they had an incumbent who was all of a sudden convicted of crimes, and they just pulled him off the ballot with 30 days to go and snuck in.
This seems to be a
bullshit
thing, the corruption.
Well, no, I'm telling you, this bullshit about a war on democracy. These guys have perfected.
Yes.
They've perfected the ability to sell bullshit, but of course it's easy when you've got a gaslighting press who just dutifully report whatever the hell you want them to say.
Right.
And now they all look like what they are, a bunch of damn dopes, because they've been selling this, he's in great shape, he's sharp, he's, Well, anyway.
Can I ask you two quick questions? Yes, first is, look, we didn't know what we were going to encounter when we came here. We had 3 weeks of incredible, enthusiastic. We thought this was going to be through the moon in terms of what the reception in the audience and everybody's sort of stuff is. Saturday happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It affected all of us in a very real way. I got to imagine it affected you all most of all, clearly his family and everything close to President Trump. How difficult was it to sort of remuster energy, like a real external energy back to this convention? Because what we found when we showed up, it was exactly like we expected it to be on Friday, as if the intervening event didn't happen, but now everybody was even more galvanized. That had to have been sort of tough, though, right?
So I was here, and because I had decided not to go. So I had a little bit of guilt to deal with. Yeah. But, I mean, we got a convention we got to put on. And we had actually a small travel staff that day. Mm-hmm. We had Suze and of course, the Dan Scavino and Stephen Chung. And, and they were, the senior staff, and I was talking to Susie. And then, like a split second after we hung up, just the raw emotion of it watching unfold. I would say the immediate turn back to, at least for me, was when Suze called me and said, because she was on the way, and she was in the chase car on the way to the hospital, and she said, "I'll call you as soon as we get there." And he's assessed, and you could see on TV. I mean, no one stands up after a direct hit, right? And I mean, just the iconic stuff, but still to get clipped by a freaking bullet in your head. By the way, I got clipped by a bullet in my goddamn face, and that's why I'm so beautiful. And
very, very handsome, Chris.
Rearranged everything to the proper proportions.
Everyone said that.
But it took me a long time before I got my ass up.
Yeah.
And so for him to get up and to have the presence of mind to not only raise his fist, but to repeat, fight.
Incredible.
Holy shit.
That's the thing to me is I cannot fathom the kind of trauma in the moment that you nearly died. You've had a bullet hit your head. Someone has tried to kill you. And your first instinct and response is, I want everyone here to feel okay.
Yeah. But literally knowing, as soon as finding out it's good, then literally you don't have a choice. You've got, there's just too much.
You gotta go do what you do.
You have to go do what you do, and you gotta pivot. You gotta go back to.
Let me just say, Chris, it's been exceptional.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that just because it's we're here and obviously we're all supportive. What has happened from a campaign team? And I think this is the leadership that you and Suze have put together there. The fact that everybody's just back at it.
Well, that and we're scared to death of Fabrizio. So.
Yeah. But the fact that everybody's back at it with the enthusiasm, and obviously it runs from the top, right?
Oh yeah.
But this is the most unifying convention I've been to, and I've been to more than I'd be willing to concede at this point, right? Yeah. It's just you've done an absolutely terrific job. I know we got to get you out of here because you got a lot of stuff to do, but pal, welcome back anytime.
Before we get you out of here, buddy, I want to get a little bit further into something that Josh was talking about, which gets to the contrast of this election. There's obviously a contrast in leadership, the weakness of Joe Biden, the strength of our real commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that we saw on display Saturday night. There's a contrast between the division among Democrats and the unity among Republicans. But there's another contrast that I think Josh was touching on that you see here with this campaign, at this convention. There are no egos underneath President Trump right now. People are taking up their oar and they are rowing, and everybody wants to work together. And that's the kind of thing, like you said, that starts at the top.
And I appreciate that, but it really is, the focus is, it's the team, and the team is motivated by a common goal, and that's ensuring that Donald Trump is elected the 47th president and providing the president, the former president, and the next president an operation that is worthy of him. And that is, there's a lot of things that you don't control in a presidential campaign, like most things in a presidential campaign, but you can control how your staff operates. Mm-hmm. You can control the mindset. You can control the determination, and all of those things matter in any kind of organization. You've got to set a tone, and the tone is set from the top. The boss sets the tone with us. Mm-hmm. And when he's working 20 hours a day, 20 hours. I mean, I'm not kidding you. We come back from some of these rallies at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the damn music on the plane is so loud you can't hear yourself think, and you got a UFC fight going on at the same time. It's crazy, but it is enormously fun. And and then he's reading the New York Times or whatever, and it's just like I'm struggling just to keep my damn eyes open.
Well, you're not a spring chicken anymore.
No, I know. Tell me about it. Yeah. But it's set from the top, and then we've got just a great operation of good people, and then honestly, the convention team. I got to give these boys a shout out.
Huge.
These kids, like our whip operation, and the guys that we brought in that were working the delegations for the last 3 months, the platform committee, the guys that put together the platform with the boss. I mean, it's a great operation. And by the way, in terms of convention operations, you have to have, if you want to run a convention, you got to have people that know how to do it. Virginia, a lot of the people that were part of our operations team had done conventions with me in the Commonwealth before, because we used to nominate by convention. So we understand the importance of rules.
Yeah.
And controlling the rules committee and ensuring that, there's discipline on the floor and that people are focused on all the same thing. Saturday was, sort of a unifying event for the Republicans, but I also have belief that, what we're going to see in the next day or so, it's going to be a unifying event for the United States.
Yeah, it's just so good. It's so awesome. So, if I don't get you out of here, Donald Trump's going to walk down here.
I figured I'd end on that.
He's gonna kick down the Ruthless
No,
set.
he won't.
His guy's coming.
He's like, what are you up there with Josh Holmes for?
It wouldn't be the first time.
I'll see you guys. Appreciate you
so much.
This is the best. Absolute best in the business. Chris Losavito, you just heard a lot about that. We're going to get to all of that and a lot more. That was presented by API, an incredible sponsor here, the Ruthless Variety Program. Thanks a lot. We'll be back right after this.
The last few years have been really tough on my family. This never-ending cycle of inflation is taking more and more out of my paycheck. Hardworking families like mine are hurting. We need help and relief from rising costs. Why aren't we harnessing more of America's natural resources to help reduce inflation? We can't afford to wait any longer. We need more energy and more choices now. Learn more at lightsonenergy.com.
52 million Americans own crypto. These are entrepreneurs, innovators, and job creators who are deeply invested in building a strong America that dominates this emerging technology sector. This year, the official Republican Party platform even pledges support for American crypto owners. Stand with Crypto is mobilizing the crypto community to have an impact on issues and elections. With all the close races across the country, crypto voters could be the difference between winning and losing in November. Find out more and see where your candidates stand in your area at standwithcrypto.org.
Hey folks, my friends at Americans for Prosperity are again on the front lines fighting against the border crisis. It's clear the politicians aren't going to solve this on their own. It's going to take good old-fashioned grassroots activism, and that's what AFP specializes in. Americans for Prosperity Foundation has taken hundreds of concerned citizens to see the border for themselves, turning them into informed activists. And Americans for Prosperity knows just what we need: more border agents, more walls, and more technology. That's what makes Americans for Prosperity unique. They do the tough work of organizing and mobilizing everyday Americans to make a difference. In fact, they just announced a major campaign to hold Biden and his allies accountable for the crisis at the border. Learn more at securebordersecureamerica.com. That's securebordersecureamerica.com.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program here on day 3 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. As an old friend here in the center of the dais, Wesley Hunt.
An old friend indeed.
How are you, sir?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. How are y'all, gentlemen?
I've seen you marching around here, high energy.
Yes.
I mean, you've got...
We know one speed, brother.
One
you know what
speed.
time it is. One speed.
Yeah.
All gas, no brakes, man. That's it.
I don't think there's a camera in town that hasn't taken a look at you in the last...
So what do you think? How am I doing? How's my driving? You know?
So far, so good. Listen, I wonder if your perception about what's happening here is the same as ours. Incredibly unifying, incredibly upbeat. Everybody seems to be on the same page. Last night, home run. Your thoughts?
You know, I got to sit next to the president last night for a little bit.
I saw that.
And to see Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, him inviting them being very gracious to accept, to come up here and speak is just the unification of our party in a time where we need it the most. And after what we saw on Saturday, we need this now more than ever. And I'm actually shocked. This is my first convention that I've ever been to.
Is it really?
This is my first convention, and I've watched on TV for many years. But I tell you what, the unity that we are seeing just across the board, it's wonderful.
You went from watching on TV to the belle of the ball in this short
Belle of the
amount
ball.
of time?
Stop it. Say it again.
I mean, you got a little crowd of people walking around with you like, hey, man, that's Wesley Hunt. Unbelievable.
It's like Entourage. We got Turtle over here and a few other guys, you know.
He does have a turtle vibe.
Doesn't he have a turtle vibe?
He does have a turtle vibe. That's super good.
Could I start? I want to ask you an incredibly difficult question.
Oh, yes. This is good.
This is a tough one.
See, Smug, you always go top rope, Smug.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is probably the toughest question. Last night, you saw an endless lineup of just home run after home run. If you had to pick one speaker who you think gave the best speech last night, who would you pick?
It was the black woman from New York that talked about her son getting killed. And I actually had the honor of questioning her in New York on the House Judiciary Committee a few months ago back in January. And I mean, she was electric. And I'm sitting next to President Trump and I'm looking at him, and he was glued on every single word that she said. It was such a powerful moment, too, because, I mean, here is a very strong black woman that used to be a Democrat that realized Democrats have been failing them and her family for decades, and she's now come around and realized who President Trump is and the direction that he sees for this country, and she is bold and unapologetic about how she loves this country and what she wants to see for the future so that what happened to her son doesn't happen to other Americans. That's stuck with me more than you could ever imagine.
She got about halfway through that speech, and I was like, how? She's a professional speaker.
She's amazing.
She's not. She's a regular human being.
And genuine and authentic.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But I'd heard a rumor that immediately afterwards, President Trump said she should run for Congress. I mean, that was a moving speech. You can get people on board. She had everyone in the palm of her hands in 10 seconds.
Well, President Trump can't lose right now. So he could pick anybody and put anybody in Congress right now.
Swinging a hot bat.
He really is.
Swinging a hot bat.
He's doing pretty well right now.
He should be playing the Powerball.
Yes.
Yeah. I know.
I need to know his lucky numbers.
He's the luckiest man ever right now. You are not lying, dog. Seriously.
I mean, 3 weeks of just unbelievable. You got all your House Democratic buddies. I'm sure they love you there.
Oh, yeah.
But all of them
they love me.
are on incredibly different pages. It's now surfacing 3 days later. They had this conference call with Biden. Yeah. They all wanted to come out against him, but assassination attempt happens. The news gets buried, and now they're trying to figure out how to put those puzzle pieces back together again. I mean, have you ever seen Democrats in the media not on the same page?
No.
Ever.
Never. And they're in mourning. So last week, I'm on the House floor, and I mean, it's like a funeral on that side.
Oh, wow.
And then also, what I love watching this is now all of a sudden the media is being very fair.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden the shoe's on the other foot, and they're realizing just how difficult it is for us to be constantly followed around, being asked a slew of questions that you probably have no business answering, and like, well, welcome to our world.
Well, because
they don't know how to handle that.
They don't care about lying. They'll lie for Democrats every day and twice on Sunday if you let them. But what they do care about is losing. And now they think Joe Biden's going to lose, and so now they can suddenly tell the truth.
Think Joe Biden's going to lose? Yeah. This dude is polling at like 32%. So that means like 68% of the country can't stand this guy.
Wait, there's still a chance that they get rid of him? I think he should keep going. Keep going, Joe.
Run.
Don't let
Run,
them get rid
Joe,
of you.
run.
You're the only one. You're the only one.
You're
Joe.
the guy. You're the
That's what I was
guy.
gonna say.
Come
Like,
on, Jack.
We're having a tough time being hard on this dude because at this point we're like, no, I think he seems totally. I think it is an atrocity what is happening within the Democratic, trying to undo democracy within the Democratic primary.
They need unity, and they got to unify around their guy. That is Joseph Robinette Biden.
Very
in the
important.
discussion.
He can't let him steal it.
No.
Yeah, at least until Labor Day. We need that.
You need to can't wear white either. So there you go. We'll just hold off till then.
Listen, you're the man. I know we got a short time with you, and we got to get you out of here. But, buddy, you're a good friend. You've always been a good friend of the program. You're always welcome anytime. Next time you come in, we need a bourbon or something, and just hang out, kick our feet up,
Y'all know what time it is when we're back. Yeah. We're back in D.C.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's prime time.
I love it.
But do you have time to say one more thing?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I really want to say this. I've been saying this all week. I'm an Apache pilot.
Yeah.
I've been shot at. when you're shot at, it gives you a new reinvigorated spirit for life. What we saw out of President Trump was the definition of true courage under fire.
Yeah.
And the idea of getting shot at, bending down, falling to your knees, getting completely surrounded by Secret Service men and women, and the first thing you want to do is put your shoes back on to walk off that stage with dignity, and then to fight off all the Secret Service men and women so you could turn to the crowd and tell us all to continue to fight after you got shot at. I gotta tell you, I was trained for that, but to see a civilian show that kind of resolve is the quintessential definition of courage under fire, and that's why we have to have this man back in the White House to keep us safe, to keep the world safe, and so the world can realize that the strong man with that kind of resilience is back in the White House to save our nation.
Right guy at the right
La
time.
Savita,
Well
cut
said.
those 30 seconds and put it on the air.
Hello, I'm Wesley.
Wesley Hunt and I approve that message.
Listen, you are the man. I really appreciate
Thanks,
everything
guys.
you've done and everything you're doing for the party. I know you're working hard out here on behalf of President Trump, and so thanks for absolutely everything.
For sure.
We'll catch up with you back in D.C.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time, guys. Good seeing y'all, and thank y'all. Love you guys, man.
Yeah.
Y'all are the best. Keep it up. Thank you,
man.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, let's go to another convention
See you, brother.
clip, a big one people are talking about around here from last night.
My fellow Republicans, President Trump asked me to speak to this convention in the name of unity. It was a gracious invitation, and I was happy to accept. I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period. Our country is at a critical moment. We have a choice to make. For more than a year, I said a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. After seeing the debate, everyone knows it's true. If we have 4 more years of Biden or a single day of Harris, our country will be badly worse off. For the sake of our nation, we have to go with Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety program. That was Nikki Haley last night. Obviously a powerful speech to a segment of the electorate that we're still kind of working on, but I think that did a lot of good. Listen, we got a very special guest here. This is a very good guy. Right in his home turf, Eric Hovde.
Welcome to Wisconsin, gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's a great summer day. A lot better than Monday, where it was kind of like a DC day or something like that. But this is a normal Wisconsin summer. You know, 80, mid-80s, lower humidity.
Yeah. Wind off the lake.
You know, you got to love it. Wisconsin's a beautiful state. 15,700 lakes. Come visit it, people.
Yeah. I love it. Well, that's a shot at Minnesota. I know what you're doing. I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing.
Hey, Packers-Vikings. Packers-Vikings. It's coming, Josh. It's coming.
This may not be our year, Eric. This may not be our year. I will say, though, with a duster like that, you can go anywhere and enjoy anything. That is a world-class mustache.
Thank you.
I mean, we've been talking about it nonstop on the Ruthless Variety program. This is guys, just handsome as day is long.
I mean, I've been growing this out for like 2 weeks, and I still can't compete.
Yeah, guys, I hate to tell you, but as the older you get, you become a chia pet. I mean, I have hair that it grows so fast. I drink this beer, man. It's growing.
Well, speaking of that, we have a Wisconsin tradition here on the Ruthless Variety program.
Yeah.
We're going to play a clip so you can get a little flavor for the way that this went down. Last time when we were here in August for the Republican primary debate, this happened. Clip 4, please.
Let's go. Call it. 3, 2, 1, go. Duncan got him! Duncan got him!
You champ, I still.
And still champion.
You're good.
A champion, nevertheless. You're a good sport, Senator. Good sport. Thank you so much for doing
I was
what you...
unprepared. But anyway, so here I am. You just humiliated me in front of my constituents.
All right, I got a challenge, man.
That was Senator Ron Johnson. It was a very good sport who came on the program to do what Wisconsinites do. They love their beer.
We do, but I have to say, we also love all forms of alcohol. Wisconsin is per capita the biggest drinking state. We love our old fashions, whether it's a traditional brandy old fashioned, a bourbon old fashioned. Really, there's not many forms of alcohol Wisconsinites don't like.
It feels like a badge of honor.
It is a badge of honor.
And frankly, we feel at home here at the Ruthless Friday program because we appreciate it as well. But in keeping with tradition, Michael Duncan, the old man.
They put me up to this.
Yeah.
I did not insist on
and you're the one who took down Ron.
I am.
You're the one. Okay, so I got a challenge. I got a real challenge.
This is a real challenge. And listen, we all want you to win this. But we want you to win the Senate race more. So if you're going to pour it, or if it's going to get down your shirt, we can't have that.
All right.
Ron Johnson.
Well, I do have to go other press, so maybe I'll have beer dripping down.
Ron Johnson had to change his entire wardrobe after the last one around. So if you feel like you're just not going to win, we need you to have a good face out here.
So,
I got it.
Ground rules: no headsets.
Okay.
3, 2, and when no. It's no headsets, and then when I say 3, 2, when I say the word go is when both can begin.
That's go time.
And I think it should be cups on table, right?
Wait, so I take my headset off here?
Please. Yeah, take it off.
Cups on table.
Cups on table. You can put your hands on it.
Yep, you can have hands on.
3, 2, 1, go.
After I say the word go.
And go is when you go.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, that is a tremendous start.
He's going. He's going.
Oh, my God.
He's
yeah! Humpty wins. Humpty wins. Humpty wins. It's a shocker. It's a shocker. It's never seen anything like it. This is unbelievable. No.
Viking wins. That's a fan, Viking. But you know what? You're a hell of a challenger. Now I can.
Toss those headsets back on because we need a
Wow.
We need a post interview. We've not seen that.
Well, look,
That's insanity.
Look,
Duncan. I mean, this is what Duncan does.
He just pours it down his throat, and somehow Hovde just willed it. And I watched the determination in his face. He had a
wasn't
different
gonna
look.
lose.
He had a different look going on. He was just going to make it happen. Didn't want to, but made it.
You know, if you grow up in Wisconsin, you have to become good at the 3 indoor sports: drinking, sex, and I'll stop there. But,
The third one has to be unspeakable.
but no, look, I'm going to give Ron some grief tonight. But you know what? It was a tough challenge.
Yeah.
It was a tough challenge.
Well, I wasn't used to the beard, and I feel like the wind resistance slowed me down.
Well, he's
my
making
stash is
excuses.
bigger, so it has to flow over my stash.
Yeah,
He's got the stash issue.
Yeah.
I feel like the facial hair. It's a
but
wash.
he's used to it.
Yeah, that is true. I will say, Eric Hovde, if this is any inclination is what's in your future, I feel very good about what's coming in November. He's a Senate candidate in the great state of Wisconsin. We have to have it. If you're impressed by that, you go to, where's your website?
EricHovde.com. HOVDE.
You got to go to that website. I think that's worth $20 no matter what. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I know we don't typically do this in the variety program, but you just watched him take down the old man. That never happens.
Never happens.
Got to give him some coin for that. That is a very, very important thing. Thank you for joining us,
Guys,
sir.
it's great being here. I hope you all have a wonderful time in Wisconsin.
Thank you so much.
You're the
Thanks
man.
so much.
You're the
And you
man.
got to come back for a Packer-Viking game.
You know what?
We got to do that.
You know what? I'll take you up on that.
All right.
I will take you up on that.
That'll be fun.
It's a friendly rivalry.
Absolutely.
I mean, it feels like I've done that before. It actually is kind of a friendly rivalry. You hate the other team, but we all kind of get along.
Yeah, we do. That's the upper Midwest. So
it is.
You gentlemen have a wonderful time. Great challenge.
Yeah.
And now we got to go give Ron crap.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you so
absolutely.
much. Thank you so
An
much.
absolute shocker here on the Ruthless Variety program. We have not had anything like this in quite some time.
Let me tell you, if I were a betting man, I'd just lost some money.
I would
That's
have lost a lot of money.
Down goes Frazier.
Down goes Frazier. The good news is there's always another fight.
Yeah.
The old
exactly
man,
right.
the old man will get back on his feet. I can absolutely promise that. We have a huge guest. This guy is absolutely fantastic. Good friend of the program, Chad Wolf. How are you, sir?
Thank you so much. Great to have you back.
Hey, Chad.
It's good to see you guys.
So you all will recall Chad while he's getting himself set. He ran Homeland Security for President Trump, did a whale of a job, actually managed to figure out how to control an immigration problem, which seems to vex nearly everyone else on the planet. But you figured it out with President Trump's leadership, and now here we are.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
It's just good to see you. You having fun out here?
I am. So I didn't get the memo on the sunglasses, tie, and this is like a little bit of a party, so you might want to.
Well, and we apologize. Hovde, he sort of sullied your spot
Oh,
there.
trust me, I saw what just went down.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe you threw it a little bit. I don't know.
Look, he's in cycle.
Okay.
That is the best.
Ron John's one thing.
When he told
He wasn't in cycle.
when he dominated Ron Johnson, he said, "I'll come back when you're in cycle, and you can win this thing." So, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Listen, you're the man. I got to imagine you're a huge, popular figure walking around this particular convention. People remember the good work that you did on one of the vexing, most significant issues that are in front of American voters this time around. Total unity here in a different way that I haven't seen in a long time. Tell me what you're hearing and feeling.
Yeah, I think that's right. We've talked a lot about the border security issue, and I think just Americans are tired of it. They're tired of 3.5 years of chaos. But I also think when they look at what's going on at that southern border, and most Americans have a basic sense of fairness. And they see folks coming across the border, released into communities, getting public benefits.
Yeah.
And they're just like, enough is enough. And so I think that's why you look at poll after poll on that issue. It's high 60s, low 70s that say the Biden administration's got the wrong approach.
Yeah.
And then they look, so the alternative is, I want someone to solve it. And obviously you don't have to look that far, right? Because President Trump has a record of solving the issue. And
That's the most amazing thing about this election, by the way. It's a four-year side-by-side.
Yep.
On everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's the economy, whether it's foreign policy, whether it's immigration, whether it is all of that. And you can actually size it up on a one-to-one basis in a place that almost every voter not only remembers, but like they felt it, they experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. You mentioned walking around here, and there's a lot of law enforcement here. Obviously, there's a lot of Secret Service here. Yeah. Which I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of Homeland Security investigations and other DHS law enforcement that they surge here. And, every third or fourth one will come up to me and just say, thanks for what you did.
It's awesome.
Because and it's not really about me, but they want a leader that supports them, allows them to do their job, and gets the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
And doesn't put politics first, and that's the complete opposite of what we've got now.
Which is completely happening.
Right.
That's right. Chad is the head of Homeland Security. You have a fair amount of expertise on the Secret Service.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could help our audience understand where we go from here. Obviously, just a tragic moment last Saturday.
Yeah.
President Trump was triumphant afterwards, but where do we go from here in terms of an investigation, and how do they get to the bottom of what went wrong?
Well, it's important to do that investigation and to do it quickly because Americans are upset. They're upset about what went down on Saturday, and they want answers. And I think most importantly, they want accountability. Mm-hmm. And so it shouldn't take a month, shouldn't take 2 months to figure this out. You've got the DHS Inspector General now doing an investigation. So there's a couple of things that you've got to look at. I think first and foremost, I keep saying this was a complete and utter failure. If your job in the Protection Division of Secret Service is to protect the president, then Secret Service leadership has failed the president, right? And they need to take accountability and responsibility for it. Now, you saw his detail dive on him on stage, right? That is his close-in protection detail. They do a great job. They're not the ones doing the site surveys and the planning and the counter sniper, and you've got different divisions of service doing all of these different things. And so the investigation is going to tell you, is it poor planning? Is it poor execution? What's the handoff to local law enforcement if they were in charge of the building where the shooter was firing from? Did they not communicate?
Yeah, the communication thing is the wildest part.
As soon as local law enforcement, because I've heard different public reporting, as soon as they started identifying someone on the roof, the call should have gone out. Unidentified individual on the roof. The president should have been taken off stage in the beast, and then brought back out a couple of minutes later after it was resolved. So there's a lot of things that probably, my experience tells me when something this catastrophic happens, it's not one thing that is a problem, it's a series of things that is a problem. And that's why you need that investigation, because right now everyone's just a little bit speculating. You know, we've got videos and conspiracy theories, and you've got all sorts of things. And it's okay to talk about it, right? Because in the absence of information, people are going to talk about it. So it's really, really important that investigation happens quickly. The results are public. You've got a congressional hearings next week, I believe.
Yes.
We'll see what that comes of. Usually, not a lot, but the investigations are what's important.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. I mean, look, from your vantage point, I got to imagine this is something that's, I mean, for all of us, it's been just shocking.
Yeah.
You enter into this setting, and we'd love to be talking about policy. We'd be loving to talk about what it is that you've done and did for President Trump and immigration policy and Homeland Security and everything else. It just seems like it's a unique, unifying moment, though.
Oh, yes.
You know?
Well, it's been a unique, I think, couple of weeks, right? From the debate to court cases, and now, obviously, what happened on Saturday, which is tragic, but also uniting in the same way. So it's a very odd time, and you know, we haven't heard from the president yet, but you see him in there from time to time, and it feels like it's a little different vibe from him.
Totally.
And I think that's really, really interesting, both to see how he reacts here, but then obviously if he wins, how that affects the governing action that he's going to take over the next 4 years. So it's fascinating.
It's a unique, you know, we've talked about this a lot in the first 2 days of the program about how the country kind of gets what it needs at the right time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we can go through some horrible times in this country over the history of our existence, but when you really need it, you get something you didn't even know you needed.
Yeah.
But that, to me, was what Saturday, the raising of the fist, was all about. It was like, I don't care what you thought about Donald Trump over the last 8 years. What you think about him in that moment, you didn't know how much you needed it, right? The country, everybody's sort of depressed economically, you know, everything else. And all of a sudden he's up and he's just fighting.
Yeah, I mean, again, most Americans want a leader.
Yeah.
And you look at President Trump, and then you look at President Biden, and it's apples and oranges. And I don't think in my lifetime, whether it's border security or immigration, it's across the board. You have two diametrically opposite views of the world and how they govern and the issues that they take, and it's on display.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think like 20 years ago versus now. It's like a 3.5 year gap.
And one of them can complete in an English sentence, and the other not, which is an important divergent part of it, too. Last question for you.
Yeah.
How quickly can President Trump turn around this border situation?
It's going to be tough. I'm not going to tell you it's going to happen overnight. There are things that you can do overnight that start the process, that send a signal to the traffickers and to the cartel members and others that it's not going to be business as usual, that there's a different sheriff in town. We're going to hold people accountable. We're going to have consequences, and there's a new game. And then implementing that, things like Remain in Mexico and our asylum cooperative agreements and other things are going to take time to renegotiate now because they were pulled out of. But there are some, how we surge immigration judges to the border, how you do different things. That stuff can start within 30, 40 days. Some of the other stuff,
plus the message. I mean, we all saw when all the Democrats raised their hand about open border policy and everything else, how the caravans responded to it, how the cartels responded to it. They were immediately ready to go on day one of the Joe Biden administration. I got to imagine if they're watching this, and they are. They know the party's over, right?
That's absolutely right. But if you go back to 2017, the same thing happened when President Trump came into office. The numbers started dropping dramatically. The problem in 17, though, is by April or May of 17, no new policies were in place.
Yeah.
Cartels figured it out, and the numbers started rebounding.
Yeah.
I think now is not only do you get that dip because you're not sure what President Trump's going to do, but
Now
then
you-
you put policies in place pretty quickly.
Yeah, now all of a sudden you've got some folks who've done this before and seen
Yeah,
the results.
and we got a lot of ideas.
I love it.
Yeah.
Listen, Chad Wolf, you are the absolute
Yeah.
best. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule around here. You got a little
here.
caravan of fans around
Yeah,
here, too.
you know, we try. Not like you guys, but, you know.
We're just a little program that could.
All right.
Thanks
so
Chad.
much. Thanks, guys. See
Appreciate
you.
it. We're going to go back to another incredible speech that everybody was talking about today. Let's play that clip now.
My fellow Republicans, let's send Joe Biden back to his basement and let's send Donald Trump back to the White House. Life was more affordable when Donald Trump was president. Our border was safer under the Trump administration, and our country was respected when Donald Trump was our commander-in-chief. As a citizen, as a husband, and as a father, I am alarmed that the current president of the United States lacks the capability to discharge the duties of his office. Our enemies do not confine their designs to between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. We need a commander-in-chief who can lead 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend at Bernie's presidency. Let's be honest here. Biden is just a figurehead. He's a tool for imposing a leftist agenda on the American people. They support open borders, allowing millions and millions of illegal aliens to pour into our country and to burden our communities, but just don't send any to Martha's Vineyard, then they get really upset.
That was terrific.
I mean, just an absolutely hardcore speech. And again, like we talked about, everybody's got a constituency for each one of these things. He just hammered his constituency out of the park. Everybody's going to be on board with it.
And once Kim O, we asked what was the greatest moment. Kim O in the chat said DeSantis was more animated than when he was running for himself. And I think that is a great thing that all the speakers you see, whether they ran against President Trump, whether they had a life story to tell, the focus was on unity.
Yeah.
And that's terrific.
Absolutely. So you may have noticed we were joined by somebody else here. He's a familiar face. Guy Benson. Welcome to the program, Mike.
Josh, how are you? Thanks for having me back.
I'm great. Listen, it's so fun. I feel like every time we see you, we have an absolute blast.
Well, I think I do. This is like my annual appearance in Wisconsin on the show. The last time I was here, we were sweating through every article of clothing right over there.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? It was like 106 degrees. We were
This
here for
is
the Milwaukee debate.
perfect.
So much better.
Yes.
With a
I'm in.
slight, like, gentle breeze.
A zephyr almost.
A whisper of wind, as Jim Nance would say. Listen,
Joe Biden's like, did someone say whisper?
I mean, listen. I just want your thoughts. First of all, about what you're experiencing here, and then just I need to get you some thoughts on Joe Biden and all of that. Let's start with what we're experiencing.
So I want to make a point about J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
Out of the gate here. So would not have been my pick. I've been very open about that. He's obviously extremely intelligent. His life story is unbelievable. I read the book years ago. He's very gifted and talented. The family's beautiful. His wife is a badass. There's a lot to commend him. He comes from a different wing, at least now, of the party and movement than I do. But be that as it may, and I made the point on Gutfeld last night on this, it has been wild to me watching the media and the left arguing that this guy is not qualified.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now he can address that. I think he should address it, actually, because he's my age, right? Yeah. Am I qualified to be president? I mean, he's got a very impressive resume. A lot of voters may have that question, and he can try to put those fears at ease. But we have, arguably on paper, the most experienced president ever.
Yeah.
The guy has been in elective office in Washington, D.C. since 12, 13 years before I was born. And I turn 40 next year. Like, the guy is experience up the wazoo. 8 years of vice president. Look at the results for the country.
Yeah.
I don't think that argument holds the same power that it otherwise might, because we have team experience at the very top, and it's a catastrophe for the country. Second point is, J.D. Vance is young. He's famous for his words. He doesn't have a ton of experience. He's barely into his first term as U.S. Senator. That also is Barack Obama.
Yeah, right.
And they all lined up. Obama got elected in 2004, sworn in 2005. By 2007, he's running for president of the United States, and the whole media and party lines up behind him.
Totally.
There was not a question about his experience. The biggest difference between Obama and J.D. Vance in terms of experience at this stage in their lives is not the 4 or 5 years that separate them. It's J.D. Vance was a U.S. Marine.
There it is.
And Barack Obama most certainly was not.
Yeah.
So
how dare you? He was a seasoned community organizer.
Point made.
Can I say one thing I don't like about J.D. Vance at all?
Okay, I'd love to hear that.
He makes you feel terrible being the same age as him.
I
Like, what am I doing with my life?
Isn't it
This guy's
awful?
already been a senator. He's
You know
gonna
what
be the
it-
next vice president.
Smug, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know what it reminds me of? You know, there's that time in every man's life, if you grew up playing sports, where you start watching sports and you're like, man, this guy's incredible. And then, like, they show you his age, and you're like, oh, I feel so old now.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. But this is like real life, because I
Yeah.
used to be like one of those guys that just ran behind dudes like J.D. Vance, and like I thought that was kind of my station in life. And then now I look over and I'm like, oh God, he's a vice presidential nominee. I'm older than this cat.
And by the way, so he's exactly my age, like a few months older. His wife is younger than I am. The wife? Okay, so Usha.
She's terrific.
Usha clerked for Brett Kavanaugh and John Roberts.
Yeah.
So a real slouch, obviously. Another one in this family.
Right.
And they've got a kid named Vivek. I feel like we are in some simulation. But I wanted to make the point because I'm seeing just like the drumbeat, experience. I'm like, all right, fair question, but you people are not qualified to make that case because you worship Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Who was, I think, arguably less experienced when he ran for president.
Yes.
He was a state senator.
He was, and he voted present all the time. Remember that?
Yeah, geez, I
Profile
do.
and courage. He'd show up
I
and
do.
vote present, and then gave a big famous speech. He's famous for his words. J.D. Vance wrote like a mega best-selling book about his upbringing. So,
And that's the thing, like, J.D. Vance, in his 39 years, overcame poverty, attended the Ivy League, wrote a bestseller, successful venture capital, successful attorney, elected to the Senate, vice president nominee. That's more than Joe Biden did in 940 years. You know, this guy's
and he
knocking this
also
out in 39.
Vance also set a world record in sprinting to Donald Trump. No one did it faster or more dramatically than J.D. Vance, for better or for worse. In his mind, for better, because look at where it got him.
And did I mention served in the military? Like,
yeah.
There's 100 accolades I don't even have time to mention.
Yeah,
for
like
JD.
9/11, since we're the same age, 9/11 happened our junior year of high school. And he saw that and went and signed up for the Marines and went over there.
Yeah, see, that I generationally, I just sort of identify with all of this and like understand it and know a lot of people like Jay. I mean, it personifies a lot of what I like about a next generation of leaders just on the resume. And then you get to know him. He's a really good dude. He's a really
Great
good
guy.
dude. I'm glad you brought that up. All right, I want to play a game.
Okay.
We have started over the last couple of months. We like to introduce new games. We've got the old standards, obviously, but this one is something special.
So I'm not playing Dem or Journo.
You're not playing Dem or Journo.
What a friend of the program. He knows him.
Yeah,
I was hoping to hear the jingle.
Yeah. And we haven't even come up with a hard pivot jingle.
No, I don't think we have.
God, we got to get on that. So this game's called Hard Pivot. One of the inspirations for this game, in all honesty, was watching you do a similar version of this on Fox, where you basically had to represent a political viewpoint that you yourself didn't agree with, but argue it.
Party swap.
Yeah,
Party swap.
Party swap with Kennedy.
Kind of like party.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, except the whole deal is you're going to get. Well, why don't you explain the game?
Yeah. So a thing that we love about politics, just as like sort of political students of the game, is when a politician does a media hit. And clearly, press secretaries talk to them before they get on front of the television, and they're like, all right, whatever the question is, this is your message.
Yeah.
This is what you got to direct it
hard
back.
pivot
Yeah.
to this.
To this.
Got it.
And so, you're going to get a background bio of who you are. You're going to get a question. and what you have to pivot to. And then on top of that, we also have bonus points available. We have a plug.
Okay.
That you can, if you can make a plug.
Joe Biden's like, did someone say hair plug?
If you can make the plug while you're also doing the pivot,
okay,
you get a bonus point.
Okay.
So this is a very fun game.
I'm nervous about this. I like my chances, but all of a sudden I get Guy Benson on here. I feel totally intimidated.
I mean, he's a pro.
He's a pro.
So who do you think should go first here?
Wait, who has what role here, Michael?
Yeah, so I'm going to announce them, one at a time here. I think since you've played before,
Are you
Holmes,
telling me what I'm going to be?
I am.
So for the viewing audience, I have absolutely no clue what character I'm going to play right now, and I don't know what my pivot is.
Okay.
So in the course of the next 5 seconds, I'm going to learn both and make an argument.
So Josh, you're playing against Guy,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody's the journo, somebody's the press secretary.
I'm the press secretary. I'll be telling them what their pivot is.
Okay.
Okay.
I
You're
guess
telling me the pivot, or are you telling me the
question?
Okay.
Okay. So Holmes, your character, you are a staunch Northeast Democrat senator who has a reputation for supporting colleagues no matter what they do.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Okay.
Do you have his bonus point?
So I have the pivot is the importance of ethics reform on the Supreme Court. I bet you'll love that one.
Okay. And I guess I'm the journalist.
You are.
So I'm asking the questions I just received via email. What Democrats believe I should ask you. My question for you, Mr. Holmes. Should Bob Menendez resign now that he's been convicted? Very simple question.
Well, I'm glad you've asked the question. I've thought about this an awful lot, and I don't think we should rush to judgment on these kind of things. What you've seen out of Bob Menendez is 40 years of absolute hard work on behalf of the American people. It's somebody who has put himself above his family. He's put himself in a place where he is trying to protect the good people of New Jersey and, God willing, the people of America by all that he has done on our behalf. And you shouldn't wipe all of that away with one simple judicial decision. We all know that justice can be denied in this country. I don't have to tell any of you, which is why you should listen to my podcast, Justice Disrobed, Ethics on Trial. If you're going to hear the truth about a runaway justice system and why Bob Menendez should not be judged so harshly, listen to this podcast, and I guarantee you'll have a different feeling tomorrow.
Wow.
Okay. You know what? I highly recommend Menendez's team, if there's anyone left, clip Josh Holmes.
I love, my favorite part of this game is opening the thing as you're doing it to figure out what it is that you're plugging.
No, there's a game in Whose Line Is It Anyway where they do that, and you were terrified. You can tell the guys are terrified. What is this going to say?
I was so happy.
Well, that was good.
I was so happy it was somewhere near justice, because I was like, God, if it's going to be climate or something, I don't know what to do with that.
All right, Guy, your character. You are the press secretary for a left-wing climate change organization.
Okay.
Here is your plug for a bonus point.
I can't wait.
And what you need to pivot to is the devastating effects of carbon emissions from SpaceX rocket launches in Texas and the hypocrisy of Elon Musk. That's what you got to pivot to.
We need to give him something easy.
The devastating effects of carbon emissions from... Wow, okay.
You got this.
Okay.
You got this.
So here's the question.
Mr. Benson. There's been a lot of talk of Joe Biden stepping down to ensure victory for Democrats and continued ability to implement policies to fight climate change. Do you support Joe Biden resigning as your party's nominee?
Well, it's a great displeasure to be here at the Republican National Convention. I see not a single outdoor mask in use, which is deeply disturbing. That is one way to prevent carbon emissions, actually, which is something that we believe in very strongly at this organization. And I just find it typical of the right-wing media which is what most of the media is, as we all know, to ask a question about President Biden, not a mention of all of his amazing achievements along with the vice president. You go straight to negativity and all the gossip about the elites trying to force someone out of office when you are not asking a single tough question to anyone here about destroying the planet, which they are actively doing. So, with all due respect, I'm not sure you went to journalism school, but you might want to go back and try to find some sort of degree, because there are other bigger stories out there. For example, you might have heard of a guy, he's popular here, Elon Musk. Have you heard of this guy? Well, he's made this big show of leaving the state of California. Now, he had a bunch of emissions there, but we like those because of we need his tax dollars. But now he's moving to the state of Texas, which you know is extremely hot, like, so QED, climate change, but also run by Nazis, basically. So he'll fit right in, and he's going to be shooting off a bunch of rockets. Can you think about the carbon footprint of that? Texas is just getting worse. And I have one other point to make. I have a book on this exact subject. I have a book on this exact subject, and it's actually very awkward because it was the exact same title of Jeffrey Toobin's book, but I kept it anyway. It's called Blast Off Bandits. Climate Criminals in Space. And it features Elon Musk, and I encourage you to read it. You might actually learn something for once.
I concede. Do not go to the judges. That is a home run. That is a home run.
Decision by knockout.
Oh,
my God.
That was basically the Trump-Biden debate. I'm sorry.
Dog.
Wow.
Toobin blast? Oh my God.
I mean, that's like 2 bonus points.
It's not even close. It's an absolute blowout.
He's a pro.
Fellas, we're standing here on the field with Babe Ruth.
It's just like, I knew this was going to be a problem. Wolf set me up on this. Why do one of you bastards have to play this guy? He's an absolute magician with this stuff. Unbelievable.
Oh, gosh,
Listen, Guy, before you go, you have a lot of obligations to your employer, Fox, here.
Yes.
Tell us where everybody can find you.
Well, I think the most fun one was I was on Gutfeld last night live until 11:30.
I mean, good.
And then I was on Fox and Friends at 5:20 a.m., which I do not recommend. I recommend both shows, but not back to back.
Do you got execs over there like, what do you think Benson will actually say yes to this? Like, do you think
He might be trolling.
What else can we get him to do? Think he'll do like the 11:30 and the 5:20?
They're like, are you available to fill in for Maria Bartiromo right now? Right now. The answer, of course, is yes. The contract coming up. Oh, gosh.
He is one of our absolute favorites. We love to have him by. You're welcome anytime. Guy Benson, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to next time. Thanks, guys.
Absolute best. All right, let's go to another clip from the convention last night. This one's from Lara Trump.
I don't feel like I actually have to ask this question, but is anybody in this room ready to send Donald Trump back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? Well, it may not be a surprise that I actually had a very different speech that I was prepared to give up here tonight. That all changed at 6:11 on Saturday evening. Nothing prepares you for a moment like that. Our family has faced our fair share of death threats, mysterious powders sent to our homes, tasteless and violent comments directed towards us on social media, but none of that prepares you as a daughter-in-law to watch in real time someone try to kill a person you love. None of that prepares you as a mother to quickly reach for the remote and turn your young children away from the screen so that they're not witness to something that scars the memory of their grandpa for the rest of their lives. The prayers and well wishes we've received over the last 72 hours have been overwhelming, to say the least.
Yet another incredible speech from last night. Lara Trump absolutely hammering from a family perspective, obviously bringing all of this home, as every speaker did. I mean, it was just an unbelievable night. There's a guy who's sort of in charge of these sort of things, who's joining us now, RNC Chair Michael Whatley. How are you, sir?
Man, you guys got a really good spot here. How did that
happen? That must have been an oversight.
I'm like, wow, who put you here?
Well, Mr. Chairman, might I say, I've been to a handful of conventions in the years. I've never seen one quite as spectacular as this.
You know, we have had a full contingent on the ground up here for 18 months. We've been fully staffed out for over a year. We've got 1,000 people on the ground right now. And we are completely unified in terms of our messaging. We're completely unified behind Donald Trump. And the atmosphere in that room is absolutely electric.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, obviously what happened on Saturday last week in Butler, Pennsylvania, you got to understand, we were expecting to have a fantastic convention before that took place, and everybody stopped and stood back and said, oh my God, what just happened? And then what does it mean? And so I talked to, you know, the boss, and he's like, we're moving. We're going. Absolutely, I'll be there. And the fact that he got here early, I mean, flew here a day early. Like he could have just got here on Thursday.
That's not done.
No,
people need to understand.
Was unbelievable, and so, you know, from everybody in the speakers lineup to everybody that's the delegates, the alternates, the guests that are here, when he walked on that floor the other night, was unbelievable.
Electric.
You know, and so we're excited. I mean, and I really think it goes to this party is unified. You know, 2016, the last time we had one, because, you know, my governor in North Carolina sucks, and so
I remember we were supposed to have it in 2020 in Charlotte.
Absolutely.
They took it from us.
That was awful.
That was going to be Smug.
So-
Smug was going to be the belle of the ball down there. And that
I
just
appreciate
didn't-
you guys bringing that up. But 16 was hard, right? 16 was very hard. We had the whole Ted Cruz fight on the floor.
Yes, exactly.
And there was a lot of raw emotion and tension in the room. And this thing, my God, this is awesome. I mean, just fantastic.
So I just have to say, especially since Ashbrook likes talking about Ohio, I think this is kind of like your record of North Carolina's success. How you had that party running, hitting on all cylinders. Everyone following directions, you know, blocking and tackling. We got a supermajority in the legislature. We just have the governorship missing. It seems like you've brought that same spirit here to the RNC.
Mr. Chairman, you need to know.
Very quickly, you've seen everyone is united.
We have this inside joke here where everybody reps their own state and then tries to attack everybody else's. So you're a victim here.
No.
You're champion North Carolina.
Yeah,
here.
he's to his benefit.
Right. So, North Carolina is a wonderful place to vacation.
It is.
Absolutely.
You know, also first in flight, not Ohio.
Oh my God! A kitty hawk blast. A kitty hawk blast.
You know, so we are 50,000 delegates, alternates, guests, and members of the media, and Milwaukee has been great, you know, for us, and really truly the messaging has been phenomenal. You know, and what we want to do with this thing is we want a conversation with every American family.
Yeah.
And we're going to set it up and we're going to run it that way, and just wow.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, last night. So, I mean, you made the point about 2016, and there was a couple moments where speakers were not sort of aligned with where the nomination was going. And there were moments there that you kind of had to iron out and figure out how we were going to go forward. Last night was not only the opposite of that. I don't think I've ever seen a convention where you had speakers who ran an aggressive primary campaign, who cultivated constituencies throughout the Republican Party, all different, that spoke directly to their constituencies to try to tell them, look, this is exactly where we need to go.
Yep.
And they did it. They delivered authentically. Nothing was forced. Nobody seemed like they were out of place or weird I mean, it was just genuine and good. I mean, you guys deserve an incredible amount of credit for that.
Well, I don't deserve any credit for this. I mean, we've got an unbelievable team that have been doing an unbelievable amount of work, and none of this happens without President Trump unifying this party.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, and it can't be overstated what it means for us here. And look, I think in addition to President Trump and the America First agenda, You also got to remember that there's this other party that's in a little bit of disarray right now. And over the last 4 years, Joe Biden has been the great unifier on the Republican side of the aisle.
Yeah.
It is amazing that when we're talking about Republican policies, we're okay. They talk about Democrat policies. This is about every American family.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep going back to this point. I've had, 100, 125 different interviews,
Oh,
over
we're
the
not
last
exclusive? I thought we were the only one.
Look at this backdrop. Is to go back to the American families.
Yeah.
Right. We are trying to talk to every single American family, and it's not just talk. I mean, it is really truly the policies that we're doing. And I keep telling everybody, Joe Biden is an awful messenger, but the Democrats have an awful message.
They got nothing to sell.
They've got absolutely nothing to sell, and so we're here right now talking about how do you restore the southern border. How do you restore our economy? How do you restore our standing in the world? And there's only one candidate in the country, and right now in this race, that can unify the country right now. And I really believe we've united the Republican Party.
No question.
We want President Trump wants to unite the country. And I think that's just very different because the Democrats cannot get their head around that.
No, they can't.
The identity politics, they're going after particular states. They're looking at various constituencies within each state of how they're going to do it. You could just pick one example, right? So the fact that we've been Israel's strongest ally since the country was formed.
Right.
Well, there's a voter block in Michigan. Maybe we should throw Israel overboard.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to do that.
Simple
We're
as
going to
that.
focus on what's right. We're going to focus on every conversation. We're going into the Midwest. We're going into the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
We're going into the South. We're going into the Northeast. I mean, Donald Trump is now leading in polls in New Jersey.
Yeah.
We're down 6 in New York. I mean,
it's wild.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because your work does not stop this week. It actually just starts this week. And you have so many plans for this fall and basically making sure that all of these ballots that belong in the box for President Trump are in the box for President Trump. So can you talk to us a little bit about your plans for voter integrity, for turning out the vote, and everything that you're working on, because I know it's a huge project.
Well, look, when I became the chair, right, I had we had the vote, Laura Trump, and I got elected, and I gave a speech, and I said, we're going to do 3 things at the RNC. Number 1, we're going to hold a world-class convention. Number 2, we're going to get out the vote. We're going to protect the ballot. So when we were here last week, we had an RNC meeting, and I had a closed-door session with 168 members of the RNC. And all my staff was like, look, sir, you can't yell at the membership. Hold my Diet Coke. So we closed the doors, and we had a conversation, and I said, look, there's 2 things I need everybody to recognize. Number 1, there are going to be 35,000 credentialed members of the media here. 700 outlets.
That's a lot of Democrats.
How about we don't hand them anything off message, please?
Don't give them a reason.
If you give them a knife, they'll stick it in our back. So please make sure that your delegates are going to be, smart as we're working through this convention.
That's so smart.
That's fine, right?
That's
And
so
secondly,
smart.
I said, look, when I gavel this convention down on Thursday, after Donald Trump accepts this nomination, and the balloons fall and the music plays, and I gavel this thing, on Friday we're all going home. And we're going to roll up our sleeves, and we're going to get out the vote, and we're going to protect the ballot, and we're going to win this thing, and then we can take a victory lap and change the world.
Yeah.
But you've got to make sure that we deliver. And that message, I think, was, universally received. And I've had a number of people come up to me afterwards and say, thank you for keeping it in perspective.
Do you give them like a 6 to 8 hour hangover relief on
I said we're going to go home. There's travel done.
Listen, it's so smart, but it's all, it comes from your background, right? I mean, you're somebody who's been in this line of work. You understand what it takes to win these elections, that it's not done with flowery speeches. As good as this is, and as much as this will move the needle, it's boots on the ground. It's people doing the work.
It is, and I don't want to minimize the impact of these speeches and the conversations that we're having here, because I think they're really important. Laura Trump last night, my God.
Just
how
incredible.
amazing was that speech from Laura
Talent
Trump?
coming out of
just,
her,
incredible.
And in terms of having her as the co-chair of the RNC, you just cannot have a better partner. But we heard from governors, we heard from senators, we heard from congressmen. But what I'm most proud of was we had real Americans.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had real Americans that have been hurt by Joe Biden's policies, who
Those were
expect America to be better. And we always have the conversation about, we're going to have everyday Americans. We're going to bring these folks in, and they get buried.
Yeah.
No, we're putting them in prime time.
Yes.
And I had a lot of members of Congress who were like, well, where's my speaking slide?
Oh, I'm
These
sure.
are the important voices.
I'm sure. The line was around the block.
And you think about the stories that they were telling.
Yeah.
That really does matter.
I mean, it was such a good decision, such a good move to put real people up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it because they're speaking for an entire country, and I feel like everybody
With
on this
shared
stage
experiences.
wants to thank you for
With
that.
shared experiences. And that's
Yep.
the thing. The relatability of all of this is so important. I mean, the fentanyl discussion. I mean, who amongst us doesn't know a family that has somehow been touched by this tragic turn of events? And giving voice to that in prime time, as you just said, incredibly important.
I could not agree more. And you think about it, our ability to generate news here, which is just consistently good news. We started out Monday night with the biggest story in the universe. Donald Trump is now the official nominee of the Republican Party.
Right.
Yeah.
2 hours later, that's old. Let's talk about J.D. Vance is now the vice presidential nominee. Right? And then 2 hours later, that's old. Donald Trump is on the floor of the Republican National Convention. I mean,
Does it feel weird as a Republican to get so much good news all at once?
It's unbelievable.
It's like
it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I know it
does,
makes.
But
Watley's
so
got to be
important.
nervous to that. This is the way this guy's wired. Right? Any good news, it's like what's around there.
Yeah.
And we are really truly fortunate right now.
Yeah.
And every time anybody has anything to say about the Democratic Party, it's like, wow, I wonder what pothole they hit.
It ain't great. Listen, you got a serious responsibility back here.
I'm gonna go gavel us in.
One last question I want to ask.
Okay,
absolutely.
Go do it.
For the folks watching at home, what is one thing they can do to help ensure President Trump is elected in November? Because everything is great. The polls look great. Everything, sure. Doesn't matter until
Great
the votes
question.
are cast. What can they do? One thing to make sure President Trump wins.
So there's two.
All right. Two
because
things.
hey, you asked me for one, I'm gonna give you two.
Great.
Number one, everybody on this show cares. Everybody on this show is going to vote. They've got to go vote, right? But we need them to be ambassadors. We need them to go out and find 10 other people that are not committed to voting in this election cycle. But the single most important statistic in all of politics to me is if you have a 5-minute conversation with an undecided voter, they're 6% more likely to vote. So we want everybody to go out there and find 5 more people, find 10 more people, 25 more people, get them to commit to vote. The second thing is protectthevote.com. Protectthevote.com. That is, I sound like a used car salesman. Protectthevote.com. But
it's the job.
It is. Absolutely. We need everybody to go sign up, to get registered, to get trained, and be deployed to be ballot observers.
It's
We
so
have set up a
important.
very aggressive program. Laura and I have been around the country with a full tilt tour on this. We're recruiting 100,000 volunteers all across the country.
Bigger than
5,000.
anything Republicans have ever done.
It's the first national election integrity program, and we are very excited about what we're seeing right now, the response that we're building right now. But it all goes back to those fundamentals. We're going to get out the vote. We're going to protect the ballot.
Yeah, listen, I'm excited about it. I know everybody else is excited about it. We all should be excited about it. Michael Watley at the RNC could not be going better. You've done absolutely terrific work. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. This has been an incredible day 3.
What a lineup.
We got another one coming up, fellas. We
Yeah.
got another one coming up.
A big one.
Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. We're coming back to you at 2 o'clock tomorrow
2 o'clock
local
local,
time.
3 p.m. Eastern.
3 p.m. Eastern. I think we did it, Smug.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much, Chairman Watley, protectthevote.com. Thank you so much to Guy Benson. Thank you so much to Eric Hovde. Thank you so much to Megyn Kelly. And thank you so much to Congressman Wesley Hunt. Is that all of them? I think we got them all.
we got them all.
So,
he lost the Vita. You didn't just lost the Vita.
Thank you so much, Chris Lasavita. Don't attack me for forgetting you.
Please don't attack us.
Until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay ruthless.